Yes, welcome along to our Race Hour Dublin Racing Festival preview in association with FansBet and bookmakers.co.uk. For those of you who don't know me, the Lucky Ducks, my name is David Jennings from the Racing Post. And what a panel we have in store for you tonight. I'm going to go through them one by one. We have all the wise heads among Irish racing with us tonight. We've got Dean Ryan and Diarmuid Nolan from the Race Hour podcast. How are you, boys?
All good, all good.
Excited about the weekend?
I got a course, yeah. Sure, look, it's always a cracking weekend of racing, and thankfully, as Dean can run us through now in a bit, an awful lot of brilliant offerings from our sponsors, FanBet as well, David. Thank God.
Absolutely, there's plenty to look out for throughout the night. We've got loads of offers, so it's certainly worth your while listening in. Now, this is going to be a tricky recording. It's going to be a tricky hour and a half or so, because the man I'm going to introduce next, I'm not really talking to be honest, because he broke my heart in the 2010 William Hill Trophy at Cheltenham. My nap at the festival was the package, but he only went and beat me on Chief Dan George. It's Mr. Paddy Aspell. How are you?
How are you, David? Are you up?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it's 12 years later and I'm still not over it, to be honest with
you. It must have cut you pretty deep.
It did. The package was the one that year. 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s went off 9-2, but you did me. Thanks for that, Paddy.
Oh, well, there you go. I think Dino often reminds me of how he profited the other way. So I've got a sort of I'm in both camps here at the minute.
You're in the best camp. 130 to 1 on Betfair, Paddy Aspell. My hit.
Anyway, look, we'll move on. And my mission for tonight, when I was asked to do this, was to try and get a tune out of our Eurovision expert. But I know he knows plenty about music and the Eurovision, but he knows even more about top-class horse racing. And that is Mr. Stephen Cass, who has got the best background in the business. Tell me more about that, Stephen.
This is my shop here, Geno, Cass & Co in Dungarvan. So using this now as a promo. We do delivery everywhere nationwide. Anybody wants a few bottles? I'm hoping Noel Hayes will be watching. Someone that might spend a few quid.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can send a few our way. You actually did send me one for Christmas, which was very nice. So thanks very much for that, Stephen.
You're welcome,
last,
DJ.
but by no means least, we spoke about the William Hill Trophy earlier on, unfortunately, with Chief Dan George. But this man actually tipped the most recent winner of the race in its current name, which is the ultimate, obviously, Vintage Clouds. David Weldon from the Race Hour podcast. How are you? Vintage Clouds, where did you pull him out of?
The Ultimate is a great race. It's a great race for past performances in it. And I think Vintage Clouds will go well again this year, but that'll be for later on in the year.
I hope your form is as good as it was going into the Ultimate last year anyway, David, for the Dublin Racing Festival. But folks, that's our panel for tonight. We're going to have a bit of fun, but more importantly, we're hopefully going to try and find you a few winners along the way. And we are going to kick off on day one of the Dublin Racing Festival on Saturday. And it's going to be a cracking 2 days. You know it. It's the 105. It's the Nathaniel Lacey Solicitors Novices Hurdle. And without further ado, Dean Ryan, can we get some prices, please?
Oh, you sure can. Before I do that, a little bit of housekeeping, DJ. The Bet 10 Get 30 offer is available on the bit.ly link on this video. You can, of course, also get it from bookmakers.co.uk. And I'm going to mention this a few times tonight, DJ, and why not? There's a £10,000 predict and win game from FansBet for the Dublin Racing Festival. We've got to answer 7 questions. I had to go at it. They are pretty tricky, but they should be for the prize. You've got to work out
how many did you get?
Well, I don't know yet. We have to see what happens, don't we? I answered all 7. You have to find out. You have to make a prediction on how many winners Gordo's going to get, how many Willie Mullins is going to get, who's going to win the Irish Gold Cup. There's a good bit in there. There's a good bit of meat on the bone, but for £10,000, I think that's very worthwhile. Do check that out. You can obviously catch that from the sites and the links on this. Let's get into the Nathaniel Lacey Solicitors Novices Hurdle. 2-1 Hollow Games is a favourite with FansBet. Jenny would be is 9-4. 100-30, what do you want? Grand Jury 11-2, 30-2, Eric Bloodaxe, Manila Krula 15-2. It's 10s bar, DJ.
And Dean, we're going to start off with you. You were so eloquent there with the price and everything. We're going to kick off with you. Where do you think the first winner of the Dublin Racing Festival will come from?
Yeah, you can't put anyone off the top end of the market. That Hollow Games and Jenny with me look very good. What do you want? I think Paddy's going to talk about that one. I know he's been a big fan of that on the Race Hour podcast over plenty of previous episodes. They don't have too much to prove, but we don't also know where the ceilings are. One horse I thought might outrun its current prices was Eric Bloodaxe. He kicked Freedom to Dream out of the way, I thought, the last day, and I thought it was very professional. I think his jumping will improve. I wouldn't be too worried that was on heavy ground last time. I think he'd go fine on a bit of decent ground. If Joseph runs him here, I think he might be a bit of value at the current prices, DJ. And people might not remember, but I think he beat Fernie Hollow in a bumper. Not too bad.
He did indeed beat Fernie Hollow in a bumper. Good memory, Dean. So we've started off with a bit of an outsider. I think that could be the recurring theme for the night. Diarmuid Nolan, it's a race that I suppose we don't have the main kind of protagonist for the big race at the Cheltenham Festival, but we've got a few kind of lurking in the long grass that could put names forward for maybe the Ballymore at Cheltenham. What do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, the likes of Journey With Me, you kind of wouldn't expect him to maybe turn up here just by how Henry de Bromhead was talking to Don McLean on Racing TV. You'd probably expect Grand Jury to turn up instead of him. Hollow Games will also rock up here. It's a funny division at the moment, the Albert Bartlett. I like Jerry Colomb for that, but this race will define the division quite a lot. It's very hard to get a handle on overall. I like Manila Crooner, but I'm not sure how quick he is, and I think this race was you need to stay. I think there'll be a small bit of pace needed as well. Just on the going, which was it won't be good like last year, it won't be terrible either. I quite like Manila Cocooner here, which is the other one, Manila Cocooner, not Manila Crooner. I thought that performance was really good last time. Really good altogether, and he beat a horse called My Design very easily, and My Design has come out afterwards and has won since really well as well. So was she's 15-2 that horse. I just thought that performance was quite good last time, and in a field of horses that I'm just not sure exactly how good the front end of the market is, apart from Journey With Me, who I think wins the Ballymore. I'm happy to take them all on with Manila Cocooner 15-2, Dave.
Diarmuid, I don't even know where to start there. I don't even know where to start now. First of all, it's a day for bad handwriting, because if you have bad handwriting, this is the day to do your bet in your local bookmakers. Just write down Manila, put a few C's and O's there. Oh, why have you your hand up, Dean?
Well, you just mentioned about handwriting. Dermo's actually got the price incorrect, looking at the wrong one. It's tens.
There we go.
And it's already happened. So there
we go. So it's a day for just putting down Manila, couple of C's, couple of O's, and if one of them wins, just chance your arm. That would be my prediction. But now we're not going to spend the night arguing, Diarmuid. We're not. I promise you. But just one thing in particular there. Jerry Colomb. Just explain Jerry Colomb to me, because to me it's a mystery. And I've had arguments with Brian Sheeran, who I work with in the Racing Post, over this. I do not get Jerry Colomb, and I think he's potentially the most overrated young horse in training.
He could be overrated. I'd see that, but I think the performance at Down Royal.
Not a good start to defense of your argument.
No. As in, we don't ever know at novice hurdlers at this juncture in time. But the performance at Christmas was massively underrated because we didn't see it on the TV because it was up and Down Royal. But he gave that Ailey Rose a stone and a hammering that day. She's gone on to win since there. And then at Thurles, hated every inch of that track that day. Absolutely despised it. And it would have been acceptable for him to throw the towel in. And he's got up to beat. The horse in third there, Churchstone Warrior, was 8.5 lengths behind him, I believe, in the Grade 1 at Naas. And he was comfortably beating him at the end. I love in horse racing and in life as well, I suppose, anything that comes through problems and issues and comes through out the other end. I think they learn an awful lot more than horses that absolutely dot up. And I think Jerry Colomb going forward, he will have learned more that day than any other horse has in the Albert Bartlett division so far. And I think going into Cheltenham on that new course, he's going to absolutely adore that course as well. Because the Albert Bartlett at times, it can seem a bit, not unfair is a wrong term, but that Albert Bartlett is a very tough race for novices. Whilst I think he's shown that he'll absolutely adore it, and he has class, and I think he has an awful lot of staying ability as well. So again, he could be proven, like any novice hurdler, from this juncture onwards, could be proven to be a complete myth. I really don't believe, and I think the form is actually there as well, Dave.
Okay, interesting. We got very deep very early there. Very, very deep. Interesting point there with horses and humans overcoming problems. But interesting. You haven't quite convinced me. I think he's overrated. I think he should be 20s or 25s for the Albert Bartlett. That's just me, and you're a far better judge than I'll ever be. Stephen Cass, it's time to bring you into this equation here, because this has a Stephen Cass type of look to it, this race. The Hollow Games being favourite, and it's literally a 66-1 shot that you want to tip Hollow Games. So I'm intrigued to know where you're going to go with this, Steve-O.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, DJ, I hate the Fav Hollow games. I think he's an absolute rotten yoke. I think these beat hollows, like if you go through the best of the beat hollows, Menelindo, he's a pig. Wicklow Brave, you'll take him. Not So Sleepy, pig. Cinders and Ashes turned out to be a pig. Battle Group, pig. Mount Leinster, pig. And Benson, like Diarmuid will tell us all about what he's like, and Dean Ryan. These beat hollows, they all have a kink. Can't stand hollow games. Don't know why he didn't go by grand jury the last day. The best horse in the race doesn't sound like he's going to run. Braun probably wants a bog. I would say that Eric Bloodaxe wants a bog. So I'm going fishy as usual. And do you want to guess, DJ, which one am I going for?
Sure. Probably. What do you want?
Freedom to Dream.
You're joking.
I thought he travelled all over Eric Bloodaxe the last day. I thought the heavy ground 2 mile 7 just did him. He's gonna come to Leopardstown Saturday. You're going to be a 25 to 1 shot in the first, and he's going to come there swinging around the bend. Whether he has the class to win, maybe not, but I'll take a chance. He won over 2.5 in hurdles debut. He was second to Appreciate in a bumper. He's good back class, and if you watch the race the last day, he absolutely travelled all over them. Eric Bloodaxe just outstayed him. He'd be the one I'd be interested for the Bartlett, but I'd take a chance on Freedom to Dream. Probably mad because Willie and Gordon just win all these races. That's why I'd be somewhat interested in Braun. But yeah, Freedom to Dream is my swing at the first. One of the first of many misses to come.
I think you're gone out of bounds there. I think it's 4. Paddy Aspell, will you bring some sense to this equation, please?
Well, probably the safest bet we could have had there was I knew Cass was going to wade in with the Peter Fatty horse there. But in fairness, I did see him when he won on his comeback. He's a giant of a horse, and that was after 2 years off the track. And the other day, I think Limerick Heavy is probably about as bad as you'd get. I thought that was a very solid run. I can't see him winning, but I don't think he should be the price he is. And Dino was spot on. I can't desert What Do You Want Now. I think at Naas, he travelled so well, and when I was watching the race, I thought just maybe let him slide on, even halfway down the back, and because he's a horse who does stay very nicely. And look, you would be a little bit disappointed the way he hit the line. He wasn't exactly running home from the back of the last, but I don't think it was Darragh O'Keefe's first ride for Willie Mullins. I don't think Darragh's going to ride the horse at Leopardstown. Who rides him? I don't honestly know, but I don't think they'll be just as patient on him on Saturday, and interesting to see with a bit more of a test. But he has got to leave that Lawler's run nonetheless behind him, because he didn't hit the line as well as you would have liked. But I think we might see a different horse if they're a bit more positive and stepped up to the 2-6 on Saturday.
Now, I told you he was going to bring some sense to it, and he did, Paddy Aspell. You just went short of saying what I was thinking. I think Darragh would agree with me here. It's the worst ride I can remember Darragh giving a horse. Of course, Darragh's top of the table, having a terrific season, brilliant on Longhouse Poet. But if Darragh could have one ride back in his whole life, he'd love to have what do you want back, because he just seemed to make up ground and then come back on the bridle, and then make up ground and come back on the bridle. He was betwixt and between, I thought personally anyway. And I think you'll see a different what do you want in this race. I think he's got a massive chance. He's 130 at the moment with Fans Bet. David, we have a couple of different contenders here from the panel. Where do you stand?
Yeah, it kind of sums up the division really. That's pretty much wide open. The one I liked was Braun, Willie Mullins and Munir Cutters. I thought he was good the last day at Naas. He was green. He was over 2 miles. The third has come out and won since. Flame Bear for Pat Doyle won well at Fairyhouse on Saturday. The bumper form as well from Ballinrobe, which is on yielding ground, which shows he goes on a bit of decent ground, which you'll get from the weekend. And second has won since, has then gone on to Britain and won a hurdle over there. The third was second to the Big Diane, only a length and a quarter behind the Big Diane in a bumper as well. So the form stacks up. He's a 10 to 1 shot. The things to remember as well, Willie Mullins won 9 out of 15 races last year at Dublin Racing Festival. He just mops these races up. He's a double figure price. He pretty much goes here, but he needs another run before Cheltenham. I think he's too big a price, 10 to 1.
Okay, interesting. So we've got plenty to field cover. So to sum up in 1, 2, or in Stephen Cass's case, 3 words, your idea of the winner of the opening race of the Dublin Festival is Dean Ryan.
Eric Bloodaxe.
Diarmuid Nolan.
Manila Cocooner.
Stephen Cass.
Freedom to Dream.
David Weldon.
Braun.
Paddy Aspell.
What do you want?
And what do you want for me as well? So there you go. That's the 105. We're up and running, boys. We're up and running. We have, hopefully one of us have mentioned when our Hollow Games probably bolts up. But that was the 105 at Leopardstown on Saturday. The Nathaniel Lacey Solicitors Novice Hurdle. Moving on to the 135. And it is the Spring Juvenile Hurdle, or renamed now, I think, Racing TV, 12 quid per month Juvenile Hurdle. And this is going to be a fascinating clash between two very exciting juvenile hurdlers. You've got Vauban and you've got Phil Dorr, who looks at this stage like he's probably going to turn up. We think it's a match, but I'm guessing some of the panel here mightn't think that way. But let's take it away, Dean. Have we got any offers on this race?
Well, we do. We've an absolute host of offers on Vauban. So I'll give you the prices first. They go 11 to 10 favourite Vauban. Phil Dorr is, or Field Dorr, 6 to 5, 5 to 1 Ike Allen. Tide Turns is 6s, 9 to 1 Ben Seagal, not to be confused with Tom, and it's 28 to 1 bar those. Now, the Vauban offers. Vauban to win any race at Dublin and Cheltenham Festivals. They've gone 5 to 1. You can have a bit of that with Fansbet, obviously related double. They've also thrown Vauban in with Chacun Poursoir for the Dublin Chase. Was 9 to 4 the double. They'll give you 11 to 4 at Fansbet. Vauban and Chacun Poursoir. Now, they're very Vauban heavy here. They've also gone Vauban in the Spring Juvenile with Sir Gerhard for the Tats Novices Hurdle. Was 3s, now 7 to 2. And they are your Vauban offers. Let's hope they both turn up, DJ, at the front end.
And are you a Vauban fan?
I don't know if you can be a Vauban fan on the evidence that you've seen so far, can you? Obviously, loads of promise in there. Ran in behind Pied Piper, but there was more switches out of Paul Townend than in a fuse box that day, wasn't there? You just go left, right, back, forwards, and all the way around.
Is that the first time you've used that saying? That's quite impressive.
Yeah, it is the first time, but I wrote it down. Does that help?
Don't tell us. We don't want to know.
How do you think I do the podcast every week, just listening to Dermo crap on for hours and hours? You have to have a little bit of fun. So whether you can get stuck in at those prices, regardless, I don't think you can up to one.
So what have you found?
I'd be prepared probably, but this is probably a no bet race in general for me because we're going to learn a lot. But Ike Allen, albeit the form isn't going to stack up against the front two just yet. There could be loads more in the tank there, as you would expect, but I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Ike Allen could be the one to shake him up, I think. I don't fancy anything else to give the other top two a race. It's 5 to 1 with Fansbet. I don't know if that's super value with the without market now. I'd fancy Ike Allen, but yeah, I'd go there, but I'm not strong, DJ. I'm sure the other lads will know more than me.
Okay, so it's a very, very tentative vote. I think he even put himself off by the end of it there.
I'm totally putting myself off now.
5 to 1. Kind of lukewarm. I don't even think if there's any warm in that water at all. Kind of thinks it might potentially win if they all don't stand up. But it's a vote for Ike Allen to start off proceedings here on the big juvenile hurdle of the weekend. David Weldon, I'm going to come to you second here because this race, it's likely to be quite a small field. We have 9 in it at the moment. That could obviously come down. It is classy though, and you've got obviously 2 of the top 3 in the market for the Triumph Hurdle. Do you think we could see the Triumph Hurdle winner here?
Definitely. Like Phil Dorr has all the credentials of a Triumph Hurdler already. Gone similar route to Zana here last year, who's off in the race. It's a no bet race for me as well. It may be a fascinating match though. I think the Mullins horse is priced on how close he was to Pied Piper, but as Dermo will probably allude to in a while, Pied Piper wasn't fancied that day at all. The market suggested the same, and Vauban was massively fancied going on the strength of the market, and Pied Piper was good enough to beat him and has since improved to Cheltenham. So I think the market's wrong. I think Phil Dorr should probably be odds on, so he could be a bit of value there. I also like the other Elliott runner who looks like he might run the Tide Turns. He was good at Punchestown, but what that form amounts to, I don't know. So it's a very tricky race. As you say, you'll probably only get 5 runners in it. Just a couple of other Willie Mullins horses there who are first time out for him at this level. You don't know what they are. So it'd be a no bet race for me, but hopefully Phil Dorr wins because I'm on him anti-posts after time in here, but hopefully he wins and can go on to win the Triumph.
Go on, sicken us. What price are you on it?
I'm not massive. I think it's 8 to 1 I have in a gold other things.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll take a bit off you if you want.
All right, DJ.
Paddy, these juvenile hurdlers, I'd love to know a jockey's point of view here. I'm sure you've ridden plenty of them in your career. What's it like, when you haven't schooled one and the trainer kind of says to you in the parade ring, this fella now, he's not a natural. We're on a fact-finding mission here, and you're coming down to the first, and you're just going, this fella is hating it. That must be one of the worst feelings as a jockey, is it?
Well, God, David, it all depends which trainer says he's not a natural. Some of them have got their own definition of how a horse should jump an obstacle, but no, definitely wouldn't fill you with confidence. But I think a lot of the time, flat horses go and jump, and they've got a bit of self-preservation, that kind of way. And if they have got a bit of self-preservation, you've got a chance. But I mean, some of the ones that we're talking about here, these are the top end, and generally horses with a bit more ability, I've got a bit more jumping ability as well. It's it's just the way it goes. But yeah, they're definitely not the first words you want to hear out of a trainer's mouth when you walk in the paddock.
And schooling, I'm going to move on here now, but I am fascinated by it. Like, when you're schooling them at home, is it a kind of a job where you're going, oh, somebody else do that? Like, I have no interest in trying to school him over a hurdle, or is it something that you kind of just get used to over and over again?
Well, to be honest, I think if you have a horse who is coming off the flat, if he doesn't jump like a flat horse, if he's good and round and he gets his back end up in the air, you probably wouldn't give him an awful lot of schooling, because he just generally he finds getting made to be easy. But some of them, if they're a bit low and flat and do actually jump like a flat horse and they're a bit straight, they're the ones that take a bit of technique improving on, and generally don't want schooling over hurdles. They want schooling over something maybe a bit more solid, just to try and send the message home. Okay,
so far, touch wood, hopefully I don't jinx him now, but Phil Dore has looked an absolute natural. I think that Down Royal performance was just breathtaking from a jumping perspective. Do you expect him, if he shows up, to continue winning ways?
Well, I can't see past him, to be honest, Dave. And like, in 3 runs, he's won by a combined 25 lengths. Even his debut effort, as you say, Down Royal, that race is working out exceptionally well. His technique, it's very difficult to fault it. He just does look extremely hard to pick holes in so far. I mean, of the rest, I think a horse like the Tide Turns of Gordon's, really on his flat rating, he shouldn't sort of be involved or be mentioned with horses like the grade he's going to take on Saturday. But I was quite impressed with the way he got the job done on debut. He might just make a proper top-end hurdler this. He's a horse who was bought out Sir Mark's, and generally they're pretty hardy and tough with not a lot of miles on the clock. So he might be the flying ointment, but for me at the minute, can't see past Phil Dore on what we've seen of him so far.
Lovely stuff. So pretty confident vote for Phil Dore. For Paddy Aspell, I'm just looking at the betting here, Mr. Stephen Cass, and I'm seeing 100 to 1 scenic look. That's a Cass kind of price.
Yeah, and I think you'd want to be doing the double for the Triumph as well, DJ. That's the way to play this one.
And then the Eurovision winner and the Grand National, all thrown in.
Yeah, no, look, I think there's at least four at the minute. This race, when you think of the likes of Guitar Pete and stuff, it can go to a surprising one. Phil Dore, he looks like a 3-mile chaser to me. There's nothing sexy about him. The Down Royal performance is very good, but Lunar Power. DJ, you're Mead's biggest fan, right? How good is Lunar Power? He's the 130 horse, isn't he? So your man's struggling to get to 140 there, I'd say.
He's more than 130 horse. He's probably a 135 horse, I'd say.
Yeah, and maybe that's what he is. And you kind of need to be a 145 horse to win the Triumph. So he's running low 140s-ish. He's grand, he's good, and he should be favoured. I don't get the Vauban thing. I don't get everyone saying that Vauban should have beaten Pied Piper the last day. I think if you ran it 100 times, Pied Piper would have beaten him 98 of them. So not fussed on Vauban. Loved the car, LN. Loved him. And the form of that race is working out pretty good. There's the 7th and the 11th have won. There's a good few have placed. They're not talking them up, but I wonder, is that a JP thing, or is that they're just so mad about Vauban? But look, I like a car, LN, but yeah, no bet for me at the moment. So
we've got a bit of love for Iker Allen. Diarmuid Nolan, you get the final vote on this. It looks as though, listening to Gordon Elliott talk, and he walked the course on Wednesday, and he seems quite happy with the ground. So it looks as though Phil Dore is going to show up. Are you part of the Phil Dore fan club?
Yeah, I'm a massive Pied Piper fan. I put him up on the Race Hour podcast last weekend to back him for the Triumph last week. So thank God we're on at the decent prices. But the Fieldor, it's just what annoys me is that every single time, no matter what he does, they just keep saying the Fieldor is better. So if Fieldor is better than Pied Piper, although to be fair, Gordon said that too last year about Zanny here in Quilixios, and we know how that ended up. But I think Pied Piper is the one to beat in this division. But I completely agree with what Stephen Cass said. Vauban might have hit the last, but Pied Piper wasn't going to be passed. He most certainly wasn't. And Fieldor has just looked really professional. It's a race that I'm not mad about. To be honest, the only bet that I could see in it, Dave, was to back Ben Siegel after this for the Boodles. He's 18-1. I don't think he'll be up to the front few in the market, but I think that he's same owners as Jeff Kidder last season. He was very good last time. So as long as his rating isn't too high, which I don't believe it will be. I think around 18-1 with fans bet. He's the play for the race, but it's for Cheltenham rather than for Leopardstown.
Okay, fair enough. We'll keep an eye on Ben Siegel, Tom's brother, for the Boodles at Cheltenham, which Briscoe wins, obviously. So there we go. We're going to have to give our selections, and I'm sure I'm going to have to do a bit of arm twisting here to get final selections out of you guys. It's not a race that's really catching your eye from a punting perspective, but we'll go through the panel. Dean Ryan.
Yeah, Care Allen for me. And you mentioned Britska. I'm in that camp with you for the Boodles.
Keep the faith.
Good man. And before you go to the others, Vauban to win any race at the Dublin and Cheltenham Festivals, 5-1 at fans bet. Let's go.
Okay, dokes. Diarmuid Nolan.
Fieldor wins, but I'm not enthusiastic about betting it.
Okay, dokes. Paddy Aspell.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Dermo. I think Fieldor, make it 4 from 4.
Stephen Cass.
Well, I tell you what will be a bet if it's pretty much.
So you've done this bet. This is just the selection part.
Well, okay. My selection is back Fieldor in a match with Vauban because he should be favourite. They're around the same price. Even money Fieldor to beat Vauban's a great bet.
Was that what you were going to say there before I cut you off?
I said I think Fieldor should be fav, and Care Allen. I like him as a horse. I'm not crazy about the shape of the race, but I think on the day if you're getting evens on Fieldor.
Fair enough.
That's
Happy
the best.
days. David Weldon.
Yeah, I'd go with Fieldor and the tie turns 1-2 for Gordon Elliott.
Whoa. Not enough. I actually think Vauban will probably win. So there you go. I'm the only Vauban fan amongst us, but it's going to be an interesting spring juvenile hurdle as we used to know it. That's at 1:35 on Saturday. Moving on to the 2:10, and it is the Ward Solicitors Irish Arkle. Unfortunately, there is no Fernie Hollow, which is bad news for my up in the ante colleague Gavin Lynch, who was all over him. But it's a fascinating race nonetheless, and Willie Mullins really does have a stranglehold on this, Dean Ryan.
He sure does. Fans bet prices go 11.08 favourite is Blue Lord, Riviere de Tel 9-4, 100-30 Hort on Collar, St Sam is 7-2. It's 33-1 bar then. That includes Boostleton, Embittered, and Embrun Mixture. I'm gutted I read them out now because I've no idea how to pronounce the last one. But there you go. They are the prices from fans bet.
Yeah, it's one of them. Sometimes I do parade ring MCs, and it's one of them when you're going through the betting and then you get to one, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, what the hell is this? Like, it could be an 80-95 handicap hurdle, a horse you've never heard of. But I thought you did a pretty good job there, Dean.
It's taken me back to my Racing FM days, DJ, when all I did was
they were great days.
Over and over and over again. Hey, there's a couple of offers on Blue Lord here from fans bet. Blue Lord and Galloping Deschamps both to win at the Dublin Racing Festival was 9-4, now 11-4. Fair play to them. Blue Lord to win at the Dublin Racing Festival and at the Cheltenham Festival, 5-1 with fans bet. So do check them out. I had an opinion on this race, and that was to take on Blue Lord. So I think I'll be doing that, DJ. And the one I'm going to take it on with is Riviere de Tel, who got pretty close to Fernie Hollow the last day. I think the allowance will make a big difference here. Now they've definitely made hay while the sun shined, right, with that allowance, and got some good performances into the bank. If it turns up, which I think it will, I think Riviere de Tel will give this one a decent race. I'm not a big fan of Horton Collar. I don't think St Sam would be good enough. A couple of the others might go elsewhere, and I'd take Blue Lord on. I don't think he was a top-end hurdler. I know he was going to finish place in a Supreme, but I think he's probably a little bit overrated.
He was going to finish a clear second and daylight back to the third. I think you're bonkers. Stephen Cass try to tell me that Blue Lord won't win this.
I'll ask you, DJ. Like, I like Blue Lord. He should be fab. He's the best of the Willy ones. It's the Riviere de Tel versus him is the thing. Like, if Blue Lord ran against Fernie Hollow at Leopardstown the last day, how far do you think he'd have been beaten? Or would he have run?
I obviously like Fernie Hollow as a horse, and I think he's a proper great horse. Any horse that beats, Bob Ollinger and beats Appreciated must be something pretty special. But I would have Fernie Hollow and Blue Lord very, very close together. I think Blue Lord is the dog's, are we allowed to say bollocks on the show?
Shoot, yeah.
I think he's the dog's bollocks.
Yeah, the dog's bollocks. Like, if you were to put the betting on it, Fernie Hollow, Blue Lord in a match would be 1-3, 9-4. So he probably would have been finishing 2-3 lengths behind. Riviere de Tel is only beaten a length and a little bit.
I see where you're going. I have to say, I see where you're going here. So
now she was 9-2 during the week. She's 9-4 now with fans bet. Like, I don't see a bet in this, but I think the two of them should be very close in the betting at the top. I think the Arkle is very, very boring. I think there could be something come from left field in the market overall, but this race doesn't excite me. Blue Lord or Riviere de Tel will probably win, and I've no interest in it.
Well, no better man to find something from left field anyway. So near the time we'll come back to you for the Arkle at Cheltenham anyway.
I'll have a look here on Betfair at the Arkle market.
Yeah, have a go there. Something over 200 maybe. Diarmuid Nolan, please tell me that you're a Blue Lord fan.
I am, yeah. Big fan of Blue Lord. Thought he's been excellent so far. Left field, I think Magic Days is one in the Arkle at Cheltenham who could run an absolutely huge race from the front. I think she could surprise a few. She's mental, but I think she's kind of one of them. She ran a huge race in that Mayor's Novice Hurdle last year, and that's worked out brilliantly. But anyway, back to this race. Blue Lord, 6-4. Like Riviere de Tel made hay while the sun shined last season or last year when she was still a 4-year-old, so she was getting the additional weight. I think Blue Lord's been excellent. Obviously didn't jump enough last time, but that's not on him. He's still brilliant. He was going to be the most clear second there's been in the Supreme, and he ran a huge race. I really like him. I think he's been excellent this season. I think he's by far the best horse now that's in the Arkle at the moment. And I think he'll win this and that. And yeah, I think it is as simple as that, to be honest.
It's 5-1, Diarmuid. 5-1. I think me and you will both be availing of that offer. 5-1 to win this and the Arkle or any race, but I think he's going to win the Arkle. So that's what fans bet. A nice little double there. David Weldon, are you making it 3 votes for Blue Lord?
Like, you can't disagree that he's the right favourite. I think he's a little on the short side based on what he's done over fences. Yes, he's been good, but he's beaten very little. Like, he beat Lifetime Ambitions by 20 lengths last time. Lifetime Ambitions is not really too mild, really. I like the 2 5-year-olds from Willie, Haddon Colours, who was third in the Good Triumph last year. On his first run for Willie, he'll only improve with time. And Saint Sam as well. I thought he was very good the last time. It was a Fairy House, and he jumped very well. And Truel, Barra, the two of them have decent form. It's probably a no-bet race on the day. I've backed St. Sam for the Arkle 14s, so I'm hoping he runs well. He needs the experience. I wouldn't be disappointed if he doesn't win on Saturday. I think you'll find it hard to beat Blue Lord on the day, but then Cheltenham will be different because it'll be a different type of race with more pace, etc. So I think Blue Lord will win, and St. Sam hopefully will follow him home.
Okay, interesting. Paddy, what type of a race are you expecting here? Who do you expect to make the pace? Do you think there'll be a pretty frenetic pace from Riviere de Tel?
I think it'll be a well-run race, Dave. Yeah, there's plenty of speed on here, but plenty of these. It's hard to know in the sense that so many of these very, very skinny price things get freebies in front. So then when they line up in better opposition, you think, oh, we're going to have 5 front runners here. Whereas no, they've just been sort of, they've been got no choice really when they're pot hunting. But I think Blue Lord is a very, very talented horse. We learned far more about him 2 runs back at Fairy House. That was a very, very solid race. And he kicked it like that third home. Cade Boy, I love that horse. And I mean, he just couldn't get near Blue Lord the last day. Wasn't really. We didn't learn anything about him. But I'm going to agree with Dave Weldon here. I think Haddon Colours, he was one of them ones who made his debut for Willie at the festival, wasn't he? And that was some run. on his first start behind Calixios in the Triumph. I mean, he was only beaten, not even 4 lengths, and he was far too fresh on the day. And then another solid run when they took him to Punchestown. He was very good on his feet on his fencing debut at Leopardstown. And yeah, he's the fresher legs here, and I'd probably go with Willie's, well, I won't say second string here, but I think he's a pretty good horse this sort in Killorn. Might be open to some more improvement.
Yeah, interesting. I interviewed Paul Townend for a feature in the Racing Post on Friday, and he had some very, very nice things to say about Hot on Killorn. He thought he'd strengthened up considerably this year as a chaser, and he was very good, I have to say, at Leopardstown in his beginner's chase. But I just don't know if he is Blue Lord. That's my thinking. I don't know if he's Blue Lord. But anyway, that is our analysis of the Irish Arkle. So we're going to have selections now. We'll start off with David Weldon.
We'll go with St. Sam.
St. Sam for David Weldon. Stephen Cass.
Riviere to Ted.
Paddy Aspell.
Hot on Killorn.
Diarmuid Nolan.
Blue Lord.
Dean Ryan.
Riviere de Tel.
And David Jennings is Blue Lord. And a very confident vote for Blue Lord. I kind of have a soft spot for that horse. I think he could be something a bit special. So moving on to the feature race on day 1 of the Dublin Racing Festival. It is at 3:15. It is the Irish Gold Cup. And with fans bet at the moment, Kenboy, the 11% specialist, is your 5-2 joint favourite with the British Radar, the lovable Frodon. And they're both 5-2. Manila Indo, the Gold Cup winner, is 130. Asterion Falange, 92. 9-1 Mount Ida. I'm going to give a full list because it is the Irish Gold Cup. 11-1 Delta Work. 14-1 Janadil. It is 25-1 Conflated and 50-1 Silas Emery. Any offers first here, Dean?
Yeah, there's one that involves Kenboy, top of the market. Kenboy and Galloping des Champs to win at the Dublin Racing Festival. There was 4s, now 9-2. So if you're a Kenboy fan, there's a little bit of a get Galloping des Champs on side and do that with fans bet. So that's their offer for around the Gold Cup.
I'm sure we have plenty of Kenboy fans here. We're going to kick off with you here, Paddy. It's the Irish Gold Cup. It's one of the big races on the Irish racing calendar. Obviously, we don't have Aputar and the few others that we might have expected maybe to turn up here. It's still a hugely competitive race, though, isn't it?
I think so. But there's a few in here, Dave, they've got a point to prove, you would say, just at the minute. Obviously, Manila Endo got into a duel, didn't he, at Kempton in the first time, cheap pieces. So he's got to leave an ordinary run behind him. But, I mean, last year's winner, Kenboy, he's got to leave 2 shockers behind him. I mean, his last 2 starts, 8th, 3rd, but I mean, he was absolutely lapped. He was beaten out of sight, which is a little bit worrying. I think Dermo mentioned earlier that Mount Ida maybe isn't going to turn up here. I thought that was maybe one at a price that might nick a bit here without winning, but looking down through them, I was struggling to pick out a winner. And in the end, I've probably landed on the old boy Frodon. This is a race now where I think won't be lacking in pace. I know there's been murmurs about Paul Nichols. He flew jabs the horses in January, so the form of the string maybe does dip a little bit. So you'd like that to maybe sort of swing back in our favour. But I could say that about several of the trainers, just looking at their winning percentages of late. 1 or 2 are well down, and you've got to put Henry de Bromhead in that bracket, albeit he's had nowhere near the runners that the likes of Willie and Gordon have. But if Mount Ida wasn't going to turn up, that was the one I thought maybe the mare getting the allowance could nick a bit here. But it looks maybe like conditions are going to be a bit lively. So I landed on Frodon, just hoping that if he can hang around long enough on the front end, he just breaks horses' hearts in behind. But he's got to turn up his best ever Frodon.
It's one of them, isn't it? It's like, I think you'll know kind of down the back where you stand with Frodon. If he's loving it out in front and, not being pestered as much as he was in the King George, you're in there with a chance. But I can certainly see where you're coming from with Frodon. You mentioned there Mount Ida potentially mightn't show up. Diarmuid, are you pretty sure about this, or where you don't think she's going to show up?
Yeah, I was on the Kevin Blake stable tour at the races that came out there about half an hour before we started recording. Gordon said on it that he's doesn't think she's gonna run. He's not going to take up the thing.
All right. He said it's definitely a possibility in tomorrow's race on both. So there you go.
Scoop.
There we go.
So yeah, anyway, so look, God knows. Depends on what
with or without Mount Ida, where do you stand?
The Paul Nicholls form situation this is not new. Like, I mean, when you look from, I just ran the numbers there quickly this evening, and like the past 11 years, he's had 646 runners in January. So that's across all those years. Obviously, it's an 18% strike rate and 41% places. In February, his runners jump up to 821. His win percentage jumps up to 25%, and his place percentage jumps up to 47. Paul Nicholls, just January, he doesn't have runners.
That's quite impressive, Diarmuid, I have to say. Now you've impressed me there with that analysis.
But it's always been the case with Paul Nicholls. He just doesn't have. It's just Januaries are crap because he doses them, you know. So like I can see the Frodon angle. See, I'm not giving up on. I don't know for the Gold Cup. I know Cass had his words earlier on for him. I know you don't like him either. I just think Melindo has never had a good prep. He won his Albert Bartlett when he was still a maiden. He second in an RSA when he'd only beaten the now rated 142 rated captain CJ going into it. And last year in the Gold Cup, he was brutal in those two starts before it as well. I think he's just a pure and utter spring horse. He'll get a similar performance as he did last year, I think. I think Kemboy is dangerous to ride off, but I'd agree with Paddy here. I think Frodon just coming over. Paul Nicholls, like he's again 78 runners in the last 20 years coming over to Ireland. He's at 27 winners and 40 places. That's a profit of £15 for a £1 stake. Paul Nicholls does not bring many over, but when he does bring them over, he really strikes. And I think Frodon, I think Leopardstone's built for him, and I think he'll be swinging back into form, Dave, as the Paul Nicholls battalion will be swinging back into form this weekend as well.
2 votes for Frodon. I wasn't expecting that. Right, Stephen Cass, okay? Kemboy, not as good as he was, probably. Frodon, not as good as he was, probably. Manila Indo doesn't look as good as he was when he won the Gold Cup. Delta Work, definitely not as good as he was. I know you have, I know you haven't told the missus yet, but I know you're having a bit of a something with Janadil, but doesn't look as good as he was as a novice. Are we not, right? Just listen to me now. Just hear me out here, okay? Are we not, just because he's a headbanger and just because, on a night out, he rocks back in at 5 o'clock and, he probably gets arrested on a night out and he's a bit of a bad boy. But is this not the day when we anoint Asterion Forlonge as the superstar that he is?
Well, it'd be like him to go and do it left-handed then, wouldn't it? After all that,
that just sums him up. Yeah, that would sum him up perfectly.
I can't. Dean? What do you call him?
The Great White Dope.
But my thing with him, I think when he gets tired, his jumping just falls apart. That day at Limerick. Now, that day at Limerick was early. He actually jumped into the wing. The day at Punchestown, he jumped into the wing, but he was tired. And the day at Kempton, again, he was tired. So now Kempton, he knuckled a bit, but I think when he's getting tired, he makes mistakes.
He wasn't tired at Punchestown. He was absolutely tanking.
Well, you can be tanking all you want. He's coming to the last in a grueler of a John Durkin, I thought. He probably was tired. You can look like you're swinging. Third last, was it?
Yeah.
The wine is starting to tell me now. But look,
and it's free. It's free for you.
I'm not no, I've never been keen on Asterion Forlonge, so I wouldn't want to be backing him. Will you back him at 5s, DJ?
Do you know what? Genuinely now, I know this sounds absolutely bonkers, but I just think the makeup of the race, and I think we're probably reading a little bit too much into the right-handed, left-handed thing at the moment, and that's factored into his price. Like, he jumped straight, I thought, perfectly straight in last year's Marsh. And he's won a Grade 1 going left-handed. I know he was...
The Marsh is a big problem for me, and Punchestown is a big problem for me because our Fairyhouse, he travelled through both those races really well, and he didn't finish out his race. So we didn't get to see him finish at Kempton or Punchestown.
I thought he looked like he was finishing at Kempton. I thought he was, he was probably 4 lengths down, 50 yards from the fence. He was 2 lengths down at the last. I don't know. I just think maybe Cheltenham isn't his track. I think a flat track Leopardstown, I think he might get away with it. And to me, I just think this is going to be his day.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. What do you like?
Well, going through them, Syrian Forlange, there's the issues there. Maybe the best horse in the race. Menelindo, I think, has gone at the game. Frodon was trained at the minute for Down Royal, and I think to bring him back after running so badly when Nichol's horses aren't flying, there'd be some training performance. Kemboy, he's pretty solid. He likes Leopardstown. He'll be going from the front, though. Elliot said today Delta Work is going to go from the front, and Frodon's going to go from the front. So while I think Janadel maybe didn't stay at Christmas, I'm going to give him one last try at 3 miles because, like, his form, he beat Longhouse Poe in the Beginner's Chase. He beat Franco de Port in the Grade 1. He was second Allo in the John Durkin. That's as good as form as that in the race if you take Menelindo's Gold Cup out of it. Maybe just didn't stay at Christmas, but I thought he got a really bad ride that day. I thought Mark Welch, he was like a yo-yo. He was bringing him up and bringing him back. Horse was a little keen. Now, he might have had a hard race as well in the John Durkin, if you can forgive him that so quickly after. And if Mark Welch just rides him stone cold with so much pace on, I think he's all the ability in the world. If he stays 3 miles, he's a massive price, 16-1, win only. That's where I'd be going.
He really is what Mr. Fisher is to me. Janadil is to you, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, like JP, like the man, he's it rhymes with a bird that looks like a crow and ends in ook, but like I love all his horses then, I love Fakir Dudaries. I love absolutely love this fella.
Are we just all going to go to jail or what?
Oh, well, I was talking about Raven. Something to do what rhymes with Raven?
Sorry, okay.
Look, I'm not a JP fan in the operation and how it gets horses handicapped, but I have a soft spot for this horse, soft spot for Fakir Dudaries, soft spot for Capadano, whatever way they hook me in. But yeah, Janadil win only. I think he's all the ability in the world. If he can ride him dead last, creep him in, come there to the last. He's the one for me.
Okay, got me nap up of the night. Stephen Cass tip Janadil. Happy days. First winner of the weekend. David Weldon. Irish Gold Cup is a race that, over the years, it's been, back in the Hennessy days, it was glorious. Just in recent years, it probably hasn't had that superstar winner that we all love. Obviously, Sizen John was one of them. But do you think this year's race is up to scratch and have you a strong fancy?
I don't have a strong fancy. Probably not up to scratch either. It's a pretty poor renewal, really.
Nice bit of positivity, Dave. That's what we want.
I'm negative, Dave, but it's in me. And then I'm going to be positive about one here now in a minute. But Frodon, I can never catch right. Whenever I tip him, he loses. And whenever I go against him, he wins. So I just ignore the horse altogether.
I have a lot of horses like that, to be honest with you.
I know, there's otherwise plenty of them with the bookload. You're going to laugh now, right? But there's a certain set of circumstances where CDS Emery can win this race.
The world's gone mad. The world's actually gone mad.
It's going to fall apart a little bit. Mount Ida might run. Minella will be out for a day out. Kemboy, Frodon, Delta Work, cut each other's throats from the front. And similar to how Tornado Flyer won the King George, if they just ride him cold, pot around the back. He stays 2 miles 6 on heavy ground, beating Darva Star there recently. 3 miles should be fine. He's a wild price. Like, it's not going to cost you much to find out. Is the point really?
You're genuinely being serious here.
Genuinely being serious. I think he's a massive. I don't think he's a massive chance. He has an outside squeak of the race falling on his lap and him just falling over the line and picking it up. Like, it's not a great race. Like, Kemboy could win it and probably would win it 7 times out of 10, but there's a set of circumstances where he doesn't win it, and CLS Emery can pick up the pieces.
Whoa! Well, there we go. Look, David, I have to say, right, if Silas Emery wins this Irish Gold Cup, I promise you, where are you living?
Kilcock, only the road from you.
Kilcock, right? We're only down the road. We'll meet halfway, right? We'll meet in Caffrey's and Barstown or something, right? And I swear I will buy you all the drink you want, and you can have as many steaks as you want, because there is no way Silas Emery is in there.
You're probably right, but it's just the off. There is the chance. He probably won't run. Sorry, I'll caveat that as well. He probably won't run. He'll probably wait for Red Mills in a couple of weeks or 2 miles 4. But if he's declared, he has a chance.
Okay. No, look, as you said, 50-1. Fair play to you for putting him up. I did not expect anybody tonight to be tipping Silas Emery to win an Irish Gold Cup, especially after his run last time. But there we go. Dean Ryan, is it 2 votes for Silas Emery?
No. No.
Well, he did say you probably will laugh at this, and you are laughing.
Yeah, I actually heard it already and laughed at the time as well. So I enjoyed it second time round as well. Let's hope they go for it, Dave, and you get a run for your money there. That would be good.
It could be like next, Tuesday, and you're on Twitter, and then you see this clip played, and it'll be like, David Weldon was the only person to tip Silas Emery, and then you're going to be famous, and then you won't even be doing stuff like this with riffraff like us because you're going to be famous.
Well, let's hope that happens. It's a longer shot than the price that he currently is, I think. But I wasn't enamored with this race. If you look at it, actually, it's a veterans chase in 12 months' time, isn't it? Most
They'll all be running that Sandown.
Most of these will be, exactly, and there'll be good veterans chases. We'll be looking forward to them. But a few of these are right at the back end of their career. Out of the fancied ones, I'd agree with Paddy and I think Frodon is the one that could get the job done. But the market is telling you that. I wouldn't completely be afraid of backing Delta Work. I know that's probably the worst run we've seen forever from Delta Work the last day at Leopardstown, but Leopardstown is his track. If Gordon could get him back, I think he is going to. It looks like he's going to run. If they're going to go from the front, I'm not sure that's the ideal thing. What I expected to see was an improved effort after Diarmuid, which you normally get from Delta Work, but you didn't get that this year. He's an each way price. I'd probably be going there, and that would be my pick. Now, you were talking about Asterion for Longe, though, DJ. That if you take the last two form figures of that one and reverse them, that's what Asterion for Longe is pretty much. So anyone backing that, very good luck. I think it doesn't matter left or right. You may as well go backwards.
I see what you did there. That's quite clever. And with the switches in the fuse box, you're on form tonight.
Yeah,
you're on form tonight.
It's not for me. Just stay away from that one.
As my favorite character in my favorite program would say, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and the wee donkey. I never thought, when I was previewing this Irish Gold Cup, that we would have a tip for not only Silas Emery, but also Delta Work and Janadil. So just to sum up this fiasco anyway, your selections for the Irish Gold Cup at 3:15 on Saturday. David Weldon.
You're
sticking with it, yeah?
Sticking with it, yeah. Sorry, did just ask you before we move on. Is Asterion for Longe not unbackable now at 9-2?
No, certainly not. Like my point on it is, okay, I get the whole left-hand or right-hand thing, but I think it's probably overemphasized when you consider he won a Grade 1 going left-handed at this track. But I don't think Cheltenham is his track, but I think this could be fine for him. He would have won the John Durkan. I'm pretty sure of it. I know it was a long way out, but I think he would have won the John Durkan. And he's going into the race. I know with Dean's favourite form figures. Yes, I get that. And he's a laughing stock. But he's going into the race with, now it's a big if, potentially if he didn't fall, he would have won the John Durkan impressively, and he would have been a close second in a King George. And that to me suggests that the horse is improving. And look, he's fallen and ended up on the ground so many times. He's so used to it by now. It's not going to have any effect on him whatsoever. And when I look through this lineup and I see Kenboy, Frodon, Manila Indo, Delta Work, I say to myself, hold on a second, they're going that way. At least Asterion for Longe, until he falls, is going that way. So that's the reason I fancy Asterion for Longe. I think 9-2 is more than fair. So it is a confident vote for Asterion for Longe.
Okay, I can't be all money, but sure, go on.
Okay, so it's Asterion for Longe for me. It is Silas Emery for Dave. It is Janadil for Stephen Cass. It is Kenboy for Diarmuid Nolan. It is Kenboy for Paddy Aspell. And for Dean.
Frodon.
No.
Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, it's Frodon for myself and Paddy, yeah.
My mind is blown.
Paddy said Frodon was lapped by 3/4 of a length the last day.
Yeah. So it is Frodon for you, Paddy, yeah?
Yep.
Frodon for Paddy. And it is Delta Work for Dean Ryan. That was the Irish Gold Cup. I have to say, those last few minutes I immensely enjoyed. But we have to move on. And there is also a fantastic supporting card on day one at the Dublin Racing Festival on Saturday. We've got some cracking handicaps. And I sense there's a lot of talking when we're talking about the Grade 1s, kind of like, oh, I don't really fancy anything here, nothing lukewarm, blah, blah. But I think that's going to change here. I think we're going to have some strong views. So we're going to go to Diarmuid Nolan. Take it away with the rest of your fancies on day one, please.
Yeah, perfect. We're in the middle of a small bit of a renaissance there from the Tony Martin stable. This is a yard that's they were slipping into kind of not being relevant anymore, really. The 2019 and 20. And I know he was never a prolific trainer; it was all about targets. But you're talking about a 6% win rate between 2019 and 2020. 21 was a bit better, up to 7.35%, but he started 2022 with an absolute bang. Like, it's 24% strike rate. Now, it's not exactly statistically significant, let's say, because it's so few runners so far this year, but still, you know, for Tony Martin, for kind of where he was, he really is getting going. That includes a 25-1 bumper winner last week at Down Royal. And I really like Good Time Johnny at Christmas. I thought he was brilliant. He's only up to 129. Like, I think he's still well ahead of his mark. Which is strange to say for a horse that started his winning this season off 111. He's up now to 129, but I don't think he's done, especially going up and trip. I love the way he picked up Jevry that day when, you know, he was positioned not great, turning the bend. He still picked him up, no problem to him. I think there's far more left in this horse. He's very close to my best bet of the weekend. And another mad horse, but I just think of 135, Dave, and I think you agree. I think Mount Leinster is
I'm absolutely ashamed of myself, but I do agree.
Same. Yeah, really am. Price wise, it's not great at all. But I thought before he's 5-2 now, I probably wouldn't be going near him. But 135, I think that's a bad handicap. I backed Fighting Fit last time, but he's nowhere near a horse like Mount Leinster, and ability wise anyway for getting jumping. But of the rest of the races, on Saturday, definitely my best bet of the day is Good Time Johnny in the 245 handicap hurdle, Dave.
We're going down together, Diarmuid. We're going down together. We're sinking ship together, because the two horses you mentioned there, Good Time Johnny and Mount Leinster, are certainly on my list. David Weldon, what do you like in the other three races on Saturday?
Yeah, I agree with Dermo that Good Time Johnny is fairly obvious, but he was beaten off 126 in the UK in a 2-mile-5 Cheltenham race. He went back down to his Irish mark to win off 120, and now he's back up to 129. So there's a bit of a question mark there. Maybe the step up to 3 miles will suit him. I like the great view in that. He ran well at Christmas. He was well backed, and he always runs his race. He'll be thereabouts. He'll give you a great run for each way money.
He never wins though, does he?
He doesn't, but he's always a bit unlucky, and I like the horses that are just always a bit unlucky.
So what do you need winners for anyway? Exactly,
each way pays the bills. And I'm so looking forward to the bumper. I cannot wait to see that absolute monster Facile Vega again. And this looks like it's going to be a cracking bumper again. So just looking forward to that. And then probably back a great view each way. And then I thought Dermot was a bit disrespectful to a Fighting Fifth there. I think he's a good chance. He's sneaking in off a really low weight. Dempsey's are in good form, and the winner there the weekend with Hansworth. He's won twice now. I think Fighting Fifth will give you a good run for your money as well.
Good shout, Nate, Diarmuid, I have to say. I saw your tweet, and it was a nice winner. Am I right in saying it got you out of a bit of a drought?
Yeah. Christmas was a tough one. Had a few fallers and everything else. You know, it just doesn't go right for you. So Fighting Fifth. You know why
that is? Because you're married now. It's all downhill. Once you get married, the only way is down, and I'm sure plenty of us will vouch for that. No, your luck just changes.
He had the Paul Nicholls booster. That's what happened to him.
Yeah,
that's what turned him over. He'll be back in February. He's back.
Paddy Aspell, give us your best bets on the remaining races on day one, please.
Yeah, I was concentrating on that 245, that hurdle race as well, to be honest. I think if he gets in, which he probably should, Priory Park, he's bang on 10 stone. He's probably a horse who hasn't reached the top of his mark here, but he was a horse who popped up at a massive price on debut, and I had a bit to do with him in Martin Brazel's yard, a horse called Panda Boy. Now he got his head in front again at Leopardstown the last day, and a bit of a freak really, because he looks so slow at home. I really couldn't believe he won on debut. So that just tells me it's natural ability. The handicapper straight away, Connections went into a handicap second time, and he gave him 128. Now he ran 3 times and was comfortably held, and the handicapper never gave them £1 back. Now, in fairness, he popped up the last day and got the job done very, very nicely. And the handicapper has certainly stepped in this time. He's put him up to 136, but he's by a sire who's getting very fashionable in Ireland now, by Valoran, and he's out of a King's Theatre mare. He's a horse, I think, who's got a bit of scope for improvement. He's going to have to step up again, but he jumps well, he travels, he'll want every bit of this 3 mile. And I mean, they're actually due to get 5 mil tomorrow at Leopardstown. A drop of rain wouldn't do this chap any harm at all.
Interesting. That's in the 245. It's certainly a horse on the improve. Dean Ryan, your best bets outside the grade ones on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Dave Weldon and disagree with Diarmuid Nolan, which is pretty normal for one of these rants that we have on the race.
Phyllis Emery?
No, God. No, I think Fighting Fit, once they start winning in those colours, they do tend to continue to win. And I think there is a bit more left from Fighting Fit. And I thought it was an eye catch all right at Ferias, but everyone knew that then when it went and done the business at Naas. And I'd be prepared to stick with that, I think. I think Fighting Fit's a decent bet on the day. There is one, though, that I like that no one's mentioned in that 245, the hurdle, which is Captain Kangaroo. I think I mentioned a horse earlier on that beat Fernie Hollow in a bumper. This one beat Kilcroot in a bumper, and it's been super disappointing, I think, since then. But there should be a pot in it. I imagine it's Willie Mullins' first string in this race. You won't find many of them at this meeting at around 16 to 1, 14 to 1. Captain Kangaroo in the hurdle, I think, is a good each way bet. Where loads of chances in there, but I'll take Willie Mullins at that price.
Yeah, that mightn't be a bad spot. Last but by no means least, Mr. Shatternuff, the pap there. What do you like in the handicaps or the bumper on Saturday?
I think that 245, the 3-mile handicap hurdle is a belter. I thought Futurum Regim, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Regim.
He probably needs to win to get into the per temps, and he ran so well in that race behind Panda Boy. That was a really good race. But I think Coastal World, who's around 50 to 1, he won a maiden hurdle at Ballinrobe in the summer. Then he was third at Thurles to Churchstown Warrior and Ida's Boy. They'd be rated about 135. He's rated 118. He ran really well when he was 5th behind Good Time Johnny. I agree with Diarmuid. That was a good race, that Good Time Johnny race. Step Up and Trip's going to suit. I just think he's better than 118. If he gets in, he mightn't get in, so I'll be brief. But back Coastal World, if he gets balloted out, you'll get your money back, and he's definitely not a 50 to 1 shot. And the other one, I think the bumper is basically a match between Facile Vega and It's What Unites Us. It's What Unites Us gave £5 as a 4-year-old to a 6-year-old Killer Mode, who's ran well since. Elliot said they're going to go keep him for Ferias. I think it's interesting they're going to run here. He looked really good to me. So in a match, I'd take 9 to 2, 4 to 1, whatever he is, against Facile Vega, who, while he looked very good, he looked a bit leery in his real unusual action. So I do think that's a match, and I'll take the bigger price, and It's What Unites Us there.
I think you might have spot one there. There's nice vibes coming from Calentra about It's What Unites Us. I think a few
big working man's price, 4 to 1, DJ. That's your kind of price now. It's a bit short for me, but
yeah. I think a few of the decent horses worked last week or the week before, and I think it was, what's that? That's It's What Unites Us. Now he mightn't be Facile Vega, but from what I'm hearing, he's quite nice. He's quite nice. It's What Unites Us. So just before we go to the best bets on day one, what's the biggest priced horse you've ever backed, Stephen Cass? What's the biggest, I presume it was on Betfair, but have you actually backed something pre-race at 900 to 1?
I backed Size and John to win the Gold Cup at 670. That was my best ever. When I saw the entries for the Kinloch Bray, I saw he was in. I said, he's a good horse. If he stays 2.5, he might stay 3. And so I only had €4 on him though. I remember I might have texted you. I texted Johnny.
You did?
Texted a few. Yeah.
You did.
I should have had more on him, but I was one of those ones I'll throw 2 quid at him, then I threw another 2 and should have had more. But I've had, to be honest, you can probably tell from me, I back a lot of horses at big prices. I've had loads, but there's loads of losers as well. So it's not like...
Doesn't matter. You only need 1 or 2 to click, and Sizing John did click. So before we move on to day 2, folks, it is time for your best bet on the Saturday of the Dublin Racing Festival. If you were to only have one bet, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of more, but if you were to only have one bet on Saturday, who would it be, Dean Ryan?
I'll go with Fighting Fit in the 350, the handicap chase. I think that's the most solid and at a fair price.
Excellent. That's Fighting Fit in the 350. Diarmuid Nolan?
Good Time Johnny in the 245. Dave.
Excellent. Paddy Aspell?
What do you want to get us off to a good start, Davey?
105. Lovely. The first leg of the ACCA. Stephen Cass, your best bet on Saturday?
I think it's because it's a good price in the match. It's What Unites Us in the bumper.
Excellent. I'm happy with that now. You didn't swing for a 6. You just took your handy single. Happy days. And David Weldon, your best bet on Saturday?
We'll go Phil Dore. I'm feeling I know what you're going to put up, Dave.
Phil Dore in the 135. And for me, he's bonkers, but he's so superior in this race. Mount Leinster in the 350, to me, I just think even if he makes 2 or 3 mistakes, I still think he's good enough to win. I hate myself, and I swore after the Cesarewitch, was it Cesarewitch? No, the Ebor. After the Ebor at York, I swore to myself I would never, ever, under any circumstances, ever tip Mount Leinster. And here I am tipping Mount Leinster. But I think Mount Leinster is going to win the 350 at Epperstone on Saturday. That's your day 1 preview, folks. Stay tuned for day 2. Yes, welcome back to the Race Hour podcast, Dublin Racing Festival preview with myself, David Jennings. We have Dean Ryan, Diarmuid Nolan, Paddy Aspell, Stephen Cass and David Weldon. And of course, it's in association with FansBet and bookmakers.co.uk. We have plenty of fun on day 1. It's going to get even better and more bonkers, I'd imagine, on day 2. And we're going to kick off with the Grade 1 novice chase over 2.5 miles. It could potentially be amazing. It could be. It's at 1:20 on Sunday, and there's been some fantastic past winners of the race, and we could have an utter superstar here, Dean Ryan, in Galloping the Shams. Just how short is he with FansBet?
15-8 on with FansBet is Galloping the Shams. Jungle Boogie is at 5s, Fury Road at 6-1. Master McShee at 7, 17 to do for Capodanno. Beacon Edge is at 11-1. Run Wild Fred, if it goes here, is 14s. It's 20-1, but those that I've mentioned. And you did say there's going to be a superstar in here. I think he is a bit of a superstar, Galloping the Shams, but he may as well get his day in the sun before he meets Braves Man's Game.
Oh, you think Brave Man's Game is going to beat him at Cheltenham, yeah?
Yeah, I'd be pretty certain of that, yeah.
Okay, interesting. And you think Galloping the Shams will win here, though?
I don't think he'd struggle too much to put the slot away, no. I think the price is spot on. But there are a couple of offers, I think, with FansBet that we should call out. Galloping the Shams to win any race at the Dublin Racing Festival, and this is the one we're talking about, and at the Cheltenham Festival, is a 6-4 chance. So this one looks like a penalty kick, so there you go.
Okay, interesting. That's Galloping the Shams. Currently, your 8-15 favourite with FansBet. Right, Diarmuid Nolan, you're the Shrudy, right? You're the man that, every weekend puts up his winners, and, you've developed quite a fan club, so you have. Where do you stand with Galloping the Shams? I, obviously, being the ridiculous enthusiast that I am, just get carried away with these type of performances, and I did a whole column on how amazing Galloping the Shams was. Was he that good, or is my glass half full way too often?
No, I think that was probably the best beginner's chase performance I've ever seen. I think he jumped fence to fence just unbelievably.
No, hold on a second. No. I'm sorry. We cannot have that phrase in this. We can't. Jumping from fence to fence is not a thing. The horse has no other option but to jump from fence to fence because there are fences. So he didn't jump from fence to fence, okay? He didn't.
Okay, grand. His galloping and his jumping style, it was just tremendous. I love the way he attacked every fence, jumping fence to fence. And I just think he annihilated what was a decent field. I mean, Floor was kicked out of touch that day. He's come back and won a beginner's chase since. I think going up and trip isn't necessarily a given with Galloping the Shams. I'd say if he's brilliant and runs from as quick as he can, I could see him running in a Turner's. Not that the winners of this race from Willie tend to go up and trip, but I don't see why he necessarily has to, but he'll decide that. I just think he's very good. Like, just to touch on what Dean said about Brave Man's Game. Brave Man's Game was kicked out of the way by the Irish horses last year, and he will be again this year. But Galloping the Shams, he looks a beast. He looks really good. Just from an each-way angle, you could see why somebody would back Master McShee. He's been brilliant this year, just because they deserve a mention here. I think Galloping the Shams will be very hard to beat, but it's a great story. Like a small trainer and a jockey who walked away for years and has come back again after his issues. It's a real brilliant kind of old story, kind of Denoli story, let's say. It is great to see. But Galloping the Shams, he's brilliant, Dave. He's going to be brilliant again, and I don't see what beats him.
Okay, so before we move on from Galloping the Shams and before we move on from you, can I have a match bet that Galloping Shams will go to the Brown Advisory rather than the shorter race?
No, I'm not that strong on it. I'm flip-flopping every day. So, I could see why they'd keep him at the same trip, but I would also see why he'd go up and trip. I think he's the kind of horse, these brilliant horses like him, like Faugheen in his novice hurdle year, won over 2 mile 7 and the Ballymore and ended up being a champion hurdler. I think Galopin Des Champs is one of them that he could run over any trip. And I just think
interesting.
Kind of
I know Ruby Walsh has been talking all week about the potential of Galopin Des Champs not running the Brown Advisory. But if I know Willie Mullins, and I definitely don't because nobody does, I think he's going to run in the 3 miler. I don't think he's going to take on Bob Ollinger. Paddy Aspell, if I was to offer you any ride, if I was your agent, okay, if I'm just pretend for a second there I'm Kevin O'Ryan and I'm about 5 stone lighter, if I was to offer you any ride at the Dublin Racing Festival, would it be Galopin Des Champs or would you go for something like Honeysuckle?
Definitely Honeysuckle because there are smaller obstacles, David.
No, you didn't bottle it.
Well, the lads on here know that, you know, there's not many bigger fans of Honeysuckle than myself, but
Galopin Des Champs, Paddy, come on.
Well, like the last stage, you know, the biggest thing that I noticed, it was how long did it take Danny Mullins to pull him up after he went past the line? I mean, literally, he was halfway, and the only reason he got him pulled up is because one of the other boys who'd pulled up earlier in the race was on his way back, and he managed to stop him alongside his horse. I mean, he's got some engine. It's amazing to think it took him 4 goals to win a race for Willie, and the race that he got off the mark for the Mullins team was in the boys' race at Cheltenham, where he bolted up carrying 11 stone 9. He's a bit of a freak, this lad, I think. Jungle Boogie, I mean, the horse that he beat, Deal Care, the last day, he's yet to win over fences, and he looks to be going through the motions, but he is unbeaten, but he obviously looks quite fragile. And Dermo mentioned the horse that I'm quite fond of as well, Master McShee. The lads mentioned that this horse has bled quite badly in the past. They've rectified that. And I think it's quite interesting now. They're dropping him in a little bit and they're just taking their time and riding a bit of a race on him. I thought he fenced lovely behind Bob Ollinger at Goring. And then the last day, he showed that he's got a bit of grit about him as well. And yeah, look, he's not sort of the sexy type of horse because he's from a small stable and he does tend to grind it out. But there's a massive engine in there. And I just think it's 7-1. He probably does represent a bit of value, but an absolute career best would be required here to beat the Fav.
Oh, what a story that would be if Master McShee could win this. That would be something else. It would be potentially the story of the weekend. Stephen Cass, how on earth are you going to tell me that Galopin Des Champs is not going to win this? I'm looking forward to your theory here.
Look, you all need to calm down. Like we've been here before. This is Sam Crow. This is Envoy Allen. Every fucking year, like there's one. You know, everyone gets carried away. Maybe he'll win at Cheltenham. Maybe he won't. He'll run to 155. Oh my God! Like he's not the second coming. He was beaten at 100-1 last year at the Dublin Racing Festival. He had a load of runs. He won a handicap and he won a middling owl grade one at Punchestown. He won a terrible beginner's chase. Like Fleuer should have been thrown out the last day. Like if you're a time man, yes, you can get excited, but it just everyone needs to chill out a little bit.
Okay. On that, then, how good is he? Right? If you're saying, oh, he's not really that good,
and I'm saying,
what do you think he is? What? Give me his peak rating.
At the moment, mid 150s would be very high for what he's done. Very high, right?
No, but what do you think he will achieve in life, like?
Oh, probably 159, 160. You know, most of these horses blow over and they don't go through it. Think of the horses I've just said about Envoy Allen and Sam Crow. Loads of sexy novices. You know, it's rare you get them carrying on with it, like Shishkin and Altior. They're the ones to be in awe of, you know. So look, Galopin and Willie's especially, you know, there isn't that many train on from being superstar novices. Like Chacun Pour Soi wasn't really a novice. Underso did it. Album Photo wasn't much good as a novice. So there's not many superstar novices go on. But that's kind of a by the by. Look, I just think everyone needs to calm down. He might be a 180 horse, but everyone's talking about him like he is, and he's still got 2 stone to improve from where he is now.
Will he win this race?
He will win this race, yeah. He's just jumping is so good, and he's got the best form in the race. I mean, there's a horse there, 33-1 French Dynamite, who is probably every bit as good as him over hurdles. He was really impressive on his beginner's chase. He's 33-1. He probably won't run though, I'd say, with the ground. I'd say there could only be 3 or 4 runners here. That's the thing. You know, I think Fury Road, Master McShee will run. Galopin Des Champs will run. I'm not sure much else will run here. So if you fancied Master McShee or Fury Road, and you're watching this Thursday night, Friday morning, I'd suggest having a bet while you have 3 places, but not a betting race for me. But I just wouldn't get carried away with Galopin Des Champs yet.
Okay, Stephen Cass is not pouring wine, but pouring cold water over Galopin Des Champs. I think from an each-way perspective, I think Fury Road has to be the one from an each-way perspective. I think he could be the one that could give Galopin Des Champs most to think about. David Weldon, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I think Galopin Des Champs will win. I'd agree with Cass though. I think everyone got a bit overexcited because we hadn't seen a superlative novice.
Sorry, that was my fault. I shouldn't have done it, and I did.
But everyone was kind of down on Bob Ollinger, and then we've seen this monster performance from Galopin Des Champs, and everyone just wanted to jump onto it and cling to it for life. Like, he bled at Limerick last Christmas, so he's not perfect either. Like, there is.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. When he was beaten by Grand Roy, he was pulled up. He was odds on. He burst the vessel. I know.
That.
Yeah. So there is issues with him. But he is good. Like, and he jumped very well the last day. I don't know what I'll take him on with. He'll probably win. He could be one for. There's a couple of good shorties on the Sunday to throw a muggy yak on that. Like Sir Gerhard and Honeysuckle and stuff like that. But like if Beacon Edge runs, like he did very well to win the Trimmore. He was still a maiden. And if he can improve for that, he might not run ground, might be a bit too light for him. He likes a bit of digging it, but there's a bit of rain forecast. Hopefully he gets into the ground, which is unlike Fairy House, so probably just lighten up for him. Unfortunately, he could be a player at a double figure price, but it's until we see what Galopin Des Champs can do here, it's hard to get stuck in behind them either,
Okay. So we're very, very lukewarm about
one thing with him, DJ, as well, is he's got a savage knee action, and I don't know how many times those horses get away with running on good ground. They often start to sour. They'll get away with it once or twice. That's why often they'll go to Cheltenham with a soft ground horse, give him that go. But they could run him here, and he goes to Cheltenham again on good ground. And I don't know how many runs you're going to get out of this on good ground, because he's got a knee action he's like a show pony going around with the knee action he has. Paddy, I'd just be interested in what you think of that. Soft ground horses often get away with good ground once or twice, but when they keep going on it, they can sour on it. And if this fella really does have a rounded action.
Yeah, no, you're right, Casa. And I think probably the biggest element there is because generally, if they want to be getting their toe in a bit further and they are on ground that's a bit too sharp for them, they're out of their comfort zone. They're in top gear, and the same as ourselves, we don't like being under pressure for too long. And horses are exactly the same, and they tend to go the other way on you a bit.
Interesting. Okay, so hopefully he'll show up. I know, Gordon has come out and said that he walked the track on Wednesday and that he's really happy with the ground. So fingers crossed that all these good horses are going to show up, because it would be a travesty if they didn't. But so we're kind of. Dean, were you a Galopin Des Champs man?
I think he'll win, but I think he'll lose at the festival, whatever race he goes for.
Okay.
And I'd love French Dynamite to run. Cass mentioned French Dynamite. If he does run, he's a horse with a massive upside and he's a big price, but you can't be sure he's going to run him. Depending what the ground does, a little bit of rain would help.
Okay, there we go. So we do think Galopin Des Champs will probably get the job done, but we're not quite convinced about him at Cheltenham just yet. Okay, so that is the 120 at Leopardstown on Sunday. Moving on a half an hour to the Dublin Chase. It's a grade 1. It's over 2 miles and 1 furlong. And Chacon Persois is on a retrieval mission, Dean Ryan.
Yeah, certainly is. A horse that's always had something to prove, isn't it? Even when everyone loved Chacon Persois, there was question marks about Cheltenham, and then that didn't come right. And now, now reaching the twilights, I would suggest. And there's new superstars in the division. This is Chacon Persois' day in the sun, and probably one of the final ones. It's going to get 5-4 on with fans bet. Gronatine's going to come over for Paul Nicholls, we think, at 11-4. Captain Guinness at 4-1. The hipster horse of all time. I think everyone at one point loved Captain Guinness, but that's at 4s. 11-1 Dunvegan, Cashback, another hipster horse from a couple of years ago, 16-1 Sky Pirate, if that shows. Sam Crow, 28-1. Thought you'd be reading that out a couple of years ago as well. And Hardline at 33s. They're the prices.
They are the price. I have a feeling there's going to be a few arguments here. I have a feeling there's going to be a few very strong opinions on one side or the other. So we may as well let Stephen Cass kick off. Steve-O, where do you stand with Chacun Pour Soi?
I'll believe he's running when he's declared. I think at Christmas, you know, they said they'd have a race to get him fit for Cheltenham, is almost what Willie implied. So I believe he's running when he's declared. He was pulled out at Christmas last minute. He was pulled out of Cheltenham 2 years ago last minute. He's only had 10 runs for Willie, and he's a 10-year-old. So I will believe he's running when he's declared. But I think if he's declared and you're getting 4 to 5, I think that's fair. I think he's more like a 4 to 7 shot. I think Grenadine's a good horse, a low 160s to mid 160s horse, whereas Chacun Pour Soi, you know, if you're taking close to even money for him to be fairly near his best, that's okay, and he'll probably win. You know, I want Captain Guinness to be that horse, and I thought last year in the Arkle, I thought maybe they did too much with him, but watching back the Arkle again, like Shishkin would have kicked him out of the way no matter what. He should have been second. He was the second best horse. He was
agreed.
We
finally found something we agreed on. He was the second best horse in the
Arkle.
I
know you. How many years now, DJ? About 12 years, and that's the first thing we've ever agreed on. Yeah. But
I think your missus is good looking as well.
He was definitely the second best horse in the Arkle, but you know, he's not doing anything beyond being a 160 horse, really. So yeah, I've no angle on him either. He's short enough. Grenadine's a better horse than him, I think. Yeah, if you get close to Pour Soi, that's a bet. Fancy the fab, DJ.
Collector's item. Stephen Cass favorite tipped. Okay, that's actually the wrong way around here. Stephen Cass has tipped the favorite. Okay, got my words mixed up there. I was in such shock. Just so viewers and listeners know, the problem that Chacun Pour Soi had is a problem we've all had, I presume, some stage in our careers, called hamstring. So I've certainly done it on numerous occasions. And it's one of them ones that until I don't know if it's the same with horses, but I know with humans, until you push it to the pin of your collar, until you're sprinting at full pace, don't laugh. Okay, it might be your jog, but until you sprint at pace, you don't really know. So it's interesting to see if it's going to be the same with Chacun Pour Soi, but I presume he's done plenty of work. And to me, like, this horse is way too big of a price for the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. Way too big. I'd say if you asked, I don't know how many employees Willie Mullins has in Cloysutton, if you asked that yard who is a better horse, or who has a better chance of winning the Champion Chase at Cheltenham between Energamine and Chacun Pour Soi, that will be a split vote. It's not going to be as one-sided as you think. They love him in the yard. I know Patrick especially thinks he's the forgotten horse in the Champion Chase. So it will be interesting to see how he gets on here. Diarmuid Nolan, where do you stand with Chacun Pour Soi?
Yeah, I'm happy to take him on. I think at his peak, he's just behind Energamine. He's every which way as good as him, really. Like, I think he's a spectacular horse, but like, he just can't be relied upon at all. We were very keen on the Race Hour podcast last year to take him on, and we actually did with Put the Kettle On, and we were delighted with the result on the day. But even on the Cheltenham running, Grenadine is half a length behind him, and Grenadine beats him at Sandown. He misses Christmas. Like, there's a bit of blood in the water. If Chacun comes back to his full pelt, Chacun probably wins this race, but there's no guarantee at 10 years old, a 2 mile hurdler or chaser is going to do that. And Grenadine, he can be forgiven Christmas because Paul Nicholls said himself he just shouldn't have run that day. He ran because they didn't think Shishkin was actually going to show up, and then they just said, look, we may as well go. And he was kicked out of sight. But that performance in the Tingle Creek was brilliant. Grenadine didn't get enough attention for the fact that he actually ran huge in the Champion Chase last year. And just with the thought that Chacun Pour Soi's armory is fading ever so much, Dave, I think Grenadine is that solid horse that will pick up the pieces otherwise. And Paul Nicholls must have him in great, great form to be bringing him over. And I just think a 7-2 with the issues that Chacun Pour Soi that Stephen Cass listed out, I think Grenadine is the better.
You're giving yourself an extra half a point or more there. He's 11-4 at the minute with fans bet.
Oh, sorry.
But no, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Look, I'm a massive Chacun Pour Soi fan, but there is the alternative there, and there's the alternative angle. Like, I can certainly see where you're coming from. So we have one vote for Chacun Pour Soi. We have one vote for Grenadine. David Weldon, which way are you looking here?
If Shakan runs, I'd be all over Shakan Persois. He's by far the best horse in the race. This horse, he just doesn't travel. If you look back now at his form, first year he went to Cheltenham, he pulled up lame in the morning, went over last year, didn't give his running really. He just didn't really get up the hill, whatever way you want to put it. He didn't give his full run. He wasn't the Shakan that we know from Punchestown and Leopardstown prior to that Dublin Racing Festival. And then he went to Sandown again and came back injured, didn't really give his running again. So clearly just something about him that just doesn't travel. At Leopardstown and Punchestown, he's brilliant. If he is 85% fit, he'll win and win well. Because this is it's a decent grade 3 without him in it.
Okay, there you go. Can't say fairer than that. That's as confident as you can get. If he runs, he wins. Simple as that. Is it as simple as that, Paddy?
I mean, I did see Patrick said, didn't he, in the Racing Post, that really don't write this chap off, because he was dropping out of the back of the telly at Sandown. That was too bad to be true. And the likes of Nuba Negra, who, you know, I love Nuba Negra, and he got into a bit of a dogfight with Shakan that day, and they paid the price, you know, around a stiff track like that, when they were getting their toe in, you know. But it was a heavy defeat, so he's got to bounce back from that. I think at that sort of price, I just think he's skinny enough. I'd probably be wanting to row him with Grenadine here. I think he goes under the radar a little bit. I know Paul Nichols was, you know, he did target the Tingle Creek and fine piece of training. He brought him back for the Haldon Gold Cup with all the time that the Tingle Creek was the aim. But, you know, another good solid run last time, you would have to say, without having any chance of beating Shishkin at Kempton. But I think in last year's Queen Mother, if they'd have ridden him, I can't say ridden him with more confidence because he was 50-1. But because they rode him like a 50-1 shot, he's gone and picked up the pieces. But if you watch the race back, from being dropped well out, he made his ground up very, very quickly. And I just think it cost him with going very, very close in the race. I think he's got an awful lot of ability, Grenadine. He would be my selection. The only thing he's got to prove is the bulk of his form is going the other way around. Left-handed isn't really been his bag so far. But whether that's just the races haven't been left-handed, that will make you worry that connections are keen to keep going the other way around. That's probably the only box he's got to tick for me. But at the prices, I'd take Grenadine. Yeah,
interesting point. It's something that I hadn't realised either. No, very interesting point. So we have a split camp. Dean, what were the offers again from FansBet and your selection?
Yeah, I think Shakan home turf. Dave made a really good point about him not travelling. I think this is the day they'll win, and they won't win again. Probably this is the final roll of the dice at 10 years old for Shakan Persois. And I think you go and get it done. The best offer that FansBet had was the Vauban Shakan Persois offer, which was 9-4 and now 11-4. That both those horses win at the Dublin Racing Festival.
Have you any Shakan Persois to win this and then win the Champion Chase offer? No.
I don't. He's currently 15-2 non-runner no bet for the Champion Chase with FansBet.
That's one bet I'd be interested in because I think he could be a lot shorter for the Champion Chase. I'm not saying he'd be Shishkin, but I think he'd be a lot shorter after he wins this, hopefully, quite impressively. That was your Dublin Chase. It is the 150 at Leopardstown on Sunday. And moving swiftly on to the 3 o'clock on Sunday, it is the Chanel Pharma Irish Champion Hurdle, which I suppose is not going to take much time, folks, because at the moment it looks as though Honeysuckle is going to absolutely skate in once again. Because what are we thinking, lads? Right, hands up here. Right, we're going to do a visual here, and I will explain the visual for any listeners. But hands up if you think Appreciated will run in the Irish Champion Hurdle. We have no hands, folks. I repeat, we have no hands. So we don't think that Appreciated is going to show up. If that's the case, Dean Ryan, give us the prices and how short do you think Honeysuckle is going to go off?
Yeah, that's a good question. Currently 11-4 on Honeysuckle. Appreciate it 100-30, 6-1. Zana here. Saint-Roi is at 11s, and as it is the Irish Champion Hurdle, we'll go with Echoes and Rain at 20s and Heaven Help Us at 50s.
Heaven Help Us is right. Heaven Help Us. Heaven Help Us. What happens if Appreciated doesn't show up? She could be 1-5, could she?
Just take her out the betting. I think there's she'd be shorter even possibly.
Any fans bet offers?
Yeah, so Honeysuckle to win the Irish and Cheltenham Champion Hurdle is a 6-5 boost with fans bet. If you fancy that. This is an absolute penalty kick, obviously. So you're getting 6-5 for the Champion Hurdle, and that's where they land. So yeah, look, this podcast was always sponsored. The race out, of course, I should say, it was always sponsored by Honeysuckle. You couldn't find bigger fans on planet Earth of the mare. So we've let fans bet in for this season, but it'll be back sponsored by Honeysuckle again next season, I'm sure.
It's funny because I remember doing a Cheltenham preview night with you guys a while ago, and Diarmuid, you were very sweet on Honeysuckle early on. Excuse the pun, but you were there from the start, weren't you?
Yeah, no, myself, Dean, Dave, Paddy, all of us. Yeah, we from the mayor's
novice.
All
right.
We were heartbroken about the mayor's novice hurdle. We were all on her for 12-1 after her debut run for that, and she didn't make the mayor's novice hurdle. Stephen Cass as well. Sorry, I'm a massive fan of Honeysuckle. And then the following season for the mares, yeah, because I happened to watch a bit of that back the last night, the first preview night, and David Mullins and Mikey Fogarty were as dismissive about her against Benny the Do, and myself and Dean, like two dopes in the middle of them, going, no, we think she could win, yeah. And then
we're really sorry,
but we think she can beat them, yeah. Sorry, David. And then literally Honeysuckle did, and she's gone on to be what she is. She's a superstar. She's just brilliant, and I just think she wins. This race doesn't need an awful lot of coverage, really, does it?
Right, Stephen Cass, tough question. Henry de Bromhead stable form, where do you stand?
In terms of the stable form, January, right, in the last 60 months, so the last 5 years, each month, his best ever January, now his best ever, would rank 23rd in months in terms of number of winners. He doesn't have good Januaries. It's just not, whatever way he trains his horses.
Explain that to me again.
Yeah. So if you rank each month in terms of number of winners of the last 60 months,
right,
his best ever January, best ever one would be 23rd on that list.
Okay, gotcha. Second. Now, I actually had no idea you had something prepared here, so well done.
I've loads of stuff like that. You just don't ask me any questions really, apart from which long shot do you fancy. So that's why.
That is impressive. Will we start again? Go back to the start. That was really impressive.
I'm really glad you asked me. It's about the only thing I have for the whole show. But yeah, no, he doesn't. He doesn't really fire in January. Now, December and January last season, he had 20 winners. December and January this year, he had 12. So he isn't firing as much, but it's kind of normal enough for him. And I think it's the way he trains. Henry, they can be winning in November and flying, and then he really builds them up for Cheltenham. So he obviously takes the foot off the gas a little bit. I'd say there's no question, like Bob Ollinger the last day, his good horses will be ready. I wouldn't be worrying about it. My only thing with Honeysuckle is well, horses never stay going forever. That's winning 17, 18 races in a row it would be astonishing if she does it. B, she's a mare, and mares can train off very quickly. We think of Apple's Jade, those kind of horses, Epatante, and so on, all the good mares, really. The Henry form's a little thing, and I have a big thing with Honeysuckle. Last year at Punchestown, do you remember she made the mistake and Sharjah came at her and she went away again? And she just looked absolutely knackered after the line. And I just said to myself, this season, the Goldilocks season she had last year is going to catch up on her next year. Probably not going to be on Sunday. It's probably not going to be on Sunday. But I think it will be in the Champion Hurdle if it's not on Sunday. It's just too perfect. She had such a hard year last year. She looked so tired after that Punchestown race. I think it'll leave a mark on her at some stage and it'll come back to haunt them. That said, I will back Santa here. I think it's a match, 6-1. I think it's fine price. So I'll have a small bet in Santa here, but yeah, realistically, she'd probably win. And I love her as much as anyone. But a bet to bet. Santa here is on the improve. I think his jumping's very good. If she has any way of an off day, he could beat her. I think he's, if Sharjah was there today, I'd fancy Santa here to beat him. I think he's really, really improving. Gordon was talking about him going World Hurdle at the start of the season, or Stayers Hurdle, sorry. And I think he's just kind of turning himself into a Champion Hurdle contender. So at 6-1 in the match, I'll have a small bet on him for fun.
Of course you will. You're Stephen Cass. No better man. Goldilocks season. Can you elaborate there? Goldilocks season?
No, everything was perfect, Everything was just right.
Oh, interesting.
Paddy Aspell, the porridge was just right. The chairs were just right. The bed was just right. Everything was just right.
Yeah, I should have got it. Sorry, my bad. Paddy Aspell, if you're riding Honeysuckle, what would you do here?
Well, we've always said on here, David, about Honeysuckle. Sort of the luxury that Rachel has is she's completely uncomplicated. You know, you can go down the inner with her, but she doesn't need to do that. She doesn't need cover or anything like that. And so Rachel just always keeps things simple with her, and she doesn't mind having to go 3 or 4 deep, and she's got the ability to give it away. I mean, Cass is right about, I suppose, mares can train off quicker than geldings, but she's just turned 8, and she actually made her debut in April 2018. So theoretically, she's very, very low mileage. And, you know, the better these horses get, the more trainers mind them and wrap them up. So they don't have a hard life. And she did get her biggest scare, though, didn't she, in this race with Darver Star a couple of years ago, 2 years back. But then last year, I'd say it was a weaker champion hurdle. Hard to believe she was 10 to 11, because she's going to be a good bit shorter than that at the weekend, but deservedly so. I think what we seen of her at Cheltenham last year, she was still, believe it or not, improving for me off the back of that performance. She's priced up very, very accordingly. We're going to have no runners, but impossible to be against her. And I think she'll be 14 from 14.
Is she in the top 10 best horses of all time?
I think she is, because she's borderline freak, David, because the size of her, you know, she wins a point to point on debut. I mean, how cheap does she look now at 110,000? You know, but fantastic story, because Kenny Alexander loves these mares, and, you know, he's a big supporter of the game. But the fact is, the biggest chink or the biggest sort of the biggest addition she's got is the fact that she is so uncomplicated. And at times, we've seen it when the lads with Ronald Pump, I think a couple of starts back, when they tried to run the finish out of her. Ronald Pump, he's gotten close to her in the past. And it just, you know, I thought they rode Ronald Pump to perfection. It was a cracking ride, but it just didn't work, because they couldn't find her out, or they couldn't bottom her. The one thing, you just don't want to fall through and race, because at times she can have this habit of going in and just popping the last, and it just gives something that's diving at her a little bit of a chance. But I think Rachel seems to have got that sort of, she's got that covered now, and she doesn't give her the chance to lose momentum at the last hurdle anymore. She tends to put the race to bed before that. So yeah, be a major upset if the mare was to lose the unbeaten record.
To do that, DJ, to be top 10 horse of all time, she'll have to win a second champion hurdle and win it, you know, by 5-10 lengths again. To be talking about her in a, you know, Cato Star, Golden Signet, Arkle, Flying Bolt, like Denman, she's miles behind those horses.
Whoa! You forgot the best of them all. You forgot the best. No.
Go
Sprinter
on.
Sacra.
Sprinter, yeah, Altior, Denman, like, you know, she's definitely not anywhere near them yet, but she could be. And the best thing about it is her and Rachel, you know, like, it's a bit soppy-eyed and stuff, but I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and she loves Honeysuckle. You know, like, watching her and saying that that's a girl horse and that's a girl jockey, and it's magic, you know.
Right, so I know it's a tip. I know it's a tipping show, I know, but I was at the t&cs at Goran, and I have to say, I've been at racing, like, so I've been at, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of race meetings in my career. I got a shock. Now, I got a proper shock at Goran Park last Thursday when I seen these kids coming up to Rachel Blackmore and seeing the effect. Like, we all hear it and you kind of think, you know, it's obviously a big deal, and yeah, whatever. But to actually see it with your own 2 eyes and see young girls and young guys coming up to Rachel, asking for an autograph, asking for a selfie, just like wanting to touch her, wanting to talk to her. She is gold. She is like the biggest thing to have happened to racing, like potentially ever in Ireland. There was, I'll never forget, outside the press room in Goran, there was this woman walking her 2 kids. One of them was 3, the other was 5. And the 3-year-old, who I'd say was only barely talking, was probably maybe, I'd say 3.5. If I was to guess, I have a daughter that's just turning 2. I'd say 3.5. And she looked up at her mammy and she said, "What's Rachel riding in this race?" And I said, "Whoa, this is unbelievable." That's the effect she's having. It is unbelievable. And I've seen it with my own 2 eyes last Thursday. So hopefully Honeysuckle continues winning ways. But I have a feeling David Weldon, You found something to beat her.
Not a chance, DJ. She scoops up. Come on now. She's a superstar. Rachel's superstar honoured. Parent was brilliant. Can't echo enough the lads have said there about her. She's just brilliant. It's, in fairness, she's coming along at a good time as well for her champion hurdles. Like, it's not vintage renewals or anything like that. Sharjah kind of gives her a bit of depth because he's so consistent in champion hurdle and stuff like that. Puts her on a higher pedestal nearly. I just love to see him go chasing with her. It never happened, but I'd love to see it. I think it'd be a sight.
Could happen.
Be an amazing sight.
If she wins her second champion hurdle, they could just try. They could. Maybe
to do what though, DJ? To win an Arkle at 9? Who cares about the Arkle? You know, she'd have to go straight to Gold Cup. She's not going to go 2 mile hurdle at almost 3.5 miles over fences. They wouldn't do that to her. No way.
Maybe not. I'm a dreamer. Anyway, before we finish up, obviously we all think Honeysuckle is going to win. Just in a word or 2 words or many words the horse actually has. Who will finish second, Stephen Cass?
Oh, definitely Zana here, yeah.
Dean Ryan?
Saint Roi will be second, I think. I think there's a ceiling there that we definitely haven't seen. Very disappointing second season over hurdles last year, but I think there's a little bit more to come. Just to be very quick, the 6-5 Honeysuckle to win both races, including Cheltenham, seemed very fair from fans.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a hell of a bet. That's the best offer you've read out tonight. Now I think that's very fair. Honeysuckle to win both races. Who's going to finish second here? Diarmuid Nolan.
Zana here.
Paddy Aspell.
Saint Roi.
Oh, and David Weldon.
I'll be a bit controversial. Heaven help us. See what them get away in front, and the rest of them are too busy dicking about the back and don't get near them.
Will you do me a favour, right? Just for yourself, just in case. Will you do a 5 or double? Silas Emery and Heaven help us. Just in case. You never know. You never know what could happen.
I'll give you 10%, DJ.
Give me 10%, which is about 4.6 million. So that's the 3 o'clock at Leopardstown on Sunday. It is the feature race, and it is the feature horse that is in action this weekend. It is Honeysuckle. I know it's not going to be much of a contest, but I'm still looking forward to it. Moving on to the 3:35 at Leopardstown on Sunday. It is the Tattersalls Ireland Novice Hurdle. It is another Grade 1, and we're going to see Sir Gerhard here. Dean, how short is he? And have you got any fans bet offers for us?
So fans bet go 11-8 Sir Gerhard. El Fabiolo is at 5-1 along with my mate Mozzie. The same price also for 3 Stripe Life. 11-2 Mighty Potter. Statuaire 13-2. It is 12-1 bar those. Sir Gerhard to win any race at the Dublin Festival, the one we're talking about now, and at the Cheltenham Festival is 11-2 with fans bet if you wanted to get involved with that. He's kind of the forgotten horse, isn't he, in the Supreme? Everyone talking about all these fancy ones, and we're just waiting for Sir Gerhard to come to the party.
I have to say, right, I thought I was on top of all the markets and kind of knew the rough prices. It's actually the first time I've looked at this market, and I was fully expecting Sir Gerhard to be odds on. So I'm kind of surprised here that he's 11-8. Big fan of El Fabiolo, but I think Sir Gerhard looks a big price here. Diarmuid, what do you make of it?
Yeah, look, it's a class race. He's just brilliant. Excellent last season. I wasn't mad about his hurdling technique though at Christmas. I really wasn't. It's a good race and he won it well. He more than likely will kick that well beyond him. But I quite like Mighty Potter for the Supreme. Now I know he's not. It doesn't look like he's going to run on Sunday. Gordon Elliott has confirmed that, I believe, with yourselves and with at the races. But 3 Stripe Life was arguably in look. I still think Mighty Potter is a better horse than him, but 3 Stripe Life was unlucky that day. And what he has crucially behind him is he's an awful lot of experience. And that mistake 2 out, that wasn't really on him. That was the horse going back through the field. From an each way point of view, I think 5-1 is more than fair as an each way punt here. Just because I know Sir Gerhard's very good. Kilcrut might have his problems, but it's just hard to know how good that bumper maybe form was from last season, just at the moment, until Kilcrut maybe comes back to himself. Or he could have excuses, but I thought Journey with Me put him away, and then Manella Crooner wasn't it? That kind of stayed on past him as well at Christmas. So Sir Gerhard's 11-8, and I understand why you'd think that's a big enough price. He could well hammer them, but 3 Stripe Life has been over hurdles. He's done it already. He's ran huge races in Grade 1s, and as an each way proposition, I I think he's a good bet.
Okay, interesting. 3 Stripe Life currently 5-1 with fans bet for Diarmuid Nolan. David Weldon, I'm going to come to you here next. It is reasonably competitive. We've got a lot of horses in here that are Grade 1 performers and a lot of promising horses as well that could be better than we've. Where are you looking at the moment?
I like Sir Gerhard. I think he's probably my idea of all the Mullins horses and even the Nichols horse and the Henderson horses that we've seen of the Supreme Winner. He was the best bumper horse last year. He proved that at Cheltenham. He was very good, I thought, on his hurdling debut. He's only going to improve for that. It'd be interesting to see if Colonel Mustard runs here on a line through him compared to Constitution Hill from the Tallworth. I agree with you, DJ. I thought it would be odds on as well. I think odds against is a smashing price. A couple of these won't show up. Disappointed my mate Mozzie was beating Royal Bond, given he'd had the prep going into it and all that, and he was on a high. So I'm kind of forgetting about him a little bit. El Fabiolo, will he be guns out for this? Is he not just going to go the same route as St. Roy? I know Willie was absolutely shouting from the rooftops about him, but you could see him going down the county route maybe, or a handicap, given the ammunition he has. I just think it's fairly obvious that Sir Gerhard will win. Okay,
interesting. A confident vote for Sir Gerhard. Paddy Aspell, Diarmuid Nolan said there that Sir Gerhard's jumping was shite. What did you think? Just paraphrase. I just paraphrased. It was techniques and stuff, but really, it didn't impress him.
Yeah, he just gets out on his forehand a bit, doesn't he? And he just doesn't make things easy for the man on top. But I think maybe that could get better with experience. But it will have to be. He's got his own way of doing it. I could certainly agree there. I mean, there was one or two here. I think El Fabiolo, obviously we've seen Simon Munir and Isaac Swade. They've done very well when they go down the French route. And they've had to be patient with this chap because it's been a good while before they were able to get him back on track. And I mean, look, I know it was a Tremor maiden hurdle where he went and won and it was desperate ground, but I mean, he absolutely bolted up. So he could be anything. So we are still in the dark a little bit. But I thought with my mate Mozzie, he got nutted the other day for lack of concentration. He went in, he filled the last, he lost an awful lot of momentum at the back of it, and he just wasn't quick away. And Statuaire came and just gubbed him on the line for me. I think my mate Mozzie, considering how forceful they were on him that day, to still only just get nabbed on the line, he's a fair horse, and I'm going to forgive him that one at round about 5 or 6s. I think he represents decent value because he's quite battle hardened. And I don't think they'd maybe make the same mistake to set about him as early as what they did the other day. So I'll forgive my mate Mozzie, but tight race this, and probably worth keeping an eye on El Fabiolo going forward. But slight preference, my mate Mozzie.
My mate Mozzie, of course, holds a champion hurdle entry. Stephen Cass, when you look through kind of this field, and obviously there's brilliant past winners of the race, is there anything in here that could be a potential superstar?
There's two. There's with Sir Gerhard and El Fabiolo. I think all those horses running the Royal Bond at Christmas, the likes of Statuaire, my mate Mozzie, 3 Stripe Life far out, they're all 135, 140 horses. I think those two races were absolute muck. And I'd say that in time, there'll be no champion hurdle horses coming out of that, no superstars. I think Sir Gerhard, I wouldn't be worried about his jumping. Willie tends to have a lot of these big, tall, narrow horses. Like if you think of Faugheen, Appreciated, Champagne Fever, Duva and Vautour, and they all used to kick hurdles out of the way, and it never stopped him. Dysart Dynamo a bit the same the other day. The technique might be poor, and we all know Willie doesn't do a ton of schooling, but they just land running, and that's the thing about Willie's horses. Sir Gerhard was the same at Christmas. I think he's probably 10 pounds better than all these, and he'll just skate in. I think odds against a good price. El Fabiolo, just because it's the unknown quantity, is the worry, but I'd rather take 11-8 Sir Gerhard than 6-1 El Fabiolo. But I think those others in the race, like on line too far out, who's not much use, I would say, in Willie's pecking order, and he's finishing right up with all them in both those races. They're no good. So I think Sir Gerhard.
So Diarmuid Nolan fancies Mighty Potter for the Supreme. Is that right, Diarmuid?
I most certainly do, yeah.
And you think he's useless, do you, Stephen?
Yeah, I think he wouldn't be within 15 pounds of the good ones in the Supreme, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just don't agree. No, Farrow is 4 3/4 lengths behind, but he doesn't have the same issues that Mighty Potter or Three Sight Life go through. I think Mighty Potter, especially when you watch back the Royal Bond as well, it just everything goes completely tits. So, and Brian Cooper would definitely take that ride back again. Gordon Ellie was saying it today as well on at the race that he thinks there's pounds more to come. Now he is going to say that obviously, but I definitely do not agree one bit with that. But again, as race hours listeners will know, myself and Cass don't tend to agree on. The last horse we agreed on, Cass, was Esmordalin, I think all those years ago, was it?
Yeah, that was the last winner I backed.
It's all right. It's all right. You're still living off Size and John. So you're all right. Okay. The one thing I will say on Mighty Potter, while we're on the subject, I genuinely can't see how we can win the Supreme, because that is monstrous contest. But
he could win the 4-miler.
No. This horse, Diarmuid is right. This horse is a monster, Mighty Potter. I think this time next year, Arkle, Mighty Potter. Now I know you're going to have the likes of Constitution Hill in there as well, but Mighty Potter, when he goes over fences, Lord, holy God, I think he's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I think he'll devour the hill. I think he'll absolutely devour the hill.
It's going to be very, very interesting. But to sum up, boys, there's been lots of opinions there. Who wins the Tattersall's Ireland Novice Hurdle, Dean Ryan?
I think Sir Gerhard wins. I think it's a fair price as well with fans bet 11-8 right now. Just one horse that we didn't talk about there, if Willie Mullins runs it, is that Harantzau Dairy, the one they got over from France in the Susanna and Rich Ritchie colours. You have to forgive getting beaten on Maiden Hurdle Baby, but throwing it in here is eye-catching for me if it turns up. 28-1 with fans bet. There'll be big prices around the day. I don't think too many will run here, so I wouldn't rule this out being quite a nice beast.
That was the one that the Ellen Doyle horse beat. Was it How You
Bud? Correct. Yeah. Choke was out that day, and we haven't seen a race course for like 450 odd days at least. So yeah, don't rule that out being a nice one in those famous colours.
But you think Sir Gerhard 11-8 more than fair?
More than fair.
I agree. Diarmuid?
Three stripe life. Three stripe life each way.
Yeah, perfect. Paddy?
My mate Mozzie, I think with a bit more luck and running, could be 3 over hurdles.
Perfect. Stephen?
Yeah, I think Sir Gerhard win, yeah.
And David?
Gerhard.
It is Sir Gerhard. We have four votes for Sir Gerhard. We're not doing too bad. That is the Tattersall's Ireland Novice Hurdle. It is the 3:35 on Sunday, and it is the last Grade 1 of the Dublin Racing Festival. So we have a brilliant, Sunday's other races are fantastic, I have to say. It is going to be fascinating to see what you guys fancy in the supporting card. And David Weldon, I'm going to go to you here first, okay? So you've got 4 other races to choose from. You can give me a selection in them all. You can give me none. You can give me one. You can tell me what your strongest fancy in is. You can do what you want. The other 4 races, what do you like?
Yeah, a couple here. So in the 225 to 2.5 mile handicap, I think Max Flamingo is massively overpriced. It was 4th behind Fury Road at Christmas, 2nd behind Lieutenant Colonel in Beginner's Chase, and 3rd behind Gavin Echo. He's well handicapped here. 8-1 is a massive each way chance he does. Sea Ducker, who actually beat Galloping the Champs Gorham Park last year for Arthur Moore, is about a 20-1 shot with fans bet for the 2 mile Liffey handicap.
Liffey, yeah.
It was 9th over Christmas over the same track and trip. That was off the back. It's not running since the summer. Entitled to come on for that. I think this has been a massive plan for Arthur Moore, and hopefully to get maybe a Shane Fitzgerald on or something like that to take £5 off, make it even easier for him. And then in the bumper, Battling Bessie was 2nd to American Mike last time out, and he was beaten 70 in lengths. Pierre Fatty's come out this week and said that they got the tactics wrong. They're going to ride her different on Sunday. If you go back to the run before that, she was only 11 3/4 behind Harmony Maker or Harmonia Maker of Gordon Elliott's at Navan, and that's 2nd fav. Battling Bessie 16-1. It's massively overpriced. I think she has a great chance in the bumper at 16-1.
Interesting, big price there. Battling Bessie in the 440. Stephen Cass, the supporting card on Sunday. What do you like?
Yeah, it's a great card. Look, I like Bustleton. I think he's got good form. He's battled hard. 137 is fair. That's in the 2 mile 5 handicap chase. Sorry, I don't know the times now off the top of my head.
2:25. That's what I'm here for.
Thanks, DJ. Surprise package in what used to be the old Pierce hurdle, whatever it is now.
Liffey handicap hurdle, 4:10 Sunday lepercent.
Yeah, and the one I really like, so if I'm going to spend time on one, it's Sit Down Lucy in the Mayor's handicap hurdle. I think she's a great chance. I mean, Party Central's all the rage here, and she's well handicapped. But Sit Down Lucy, I think, is equally as well handicapped. She was second in that grade 3 at Down Royal. Then she was second off level weights to Top Bandit. He's now rated 135. She was only beaten 2 lengths. She's rated 124. She was fourth then in the Bar 1, the good handicap hurdle at Fairyhouse. That'd be a stronger race than this. And crucially that day, going right-handed again in those other 2 races. She jumped left and she's going to get to go left-handed. She finished first of those who were up with the pace in the Bar 1 handicap hurdle. I think 10-1, any double figures, big price. Sit Down Lucy. I think it'll be a big weekend for Peter Fahey, and she's a great chance.
Yeah, I think you've spotted one there. I think she was one that definitely interests me. Sorry for jinxing you, but I think she's got a cracking chance. In the 12:45, the opener on Sunday, Paddy Aspell, what do you like on Sunday's card?
There was loads, to be honest. I thought that Blackbow, he was unlucky to bump into a core specialist, wasn't he, of Pat Fahey's last time. But
jumped brilliant, didn't he?
He did, but the thing is, you can't always trust his jumping. So he's got to go back to back now with a couple of good jumper performances. But in the 4:10, obviously McManus has got a clatter of entries in here. But one I thought was relatively low mileage was the Mouse Morris JP candidate here, Get My Drift. Still early days for this gelding here. Only had 7 starts over hurdles, or only 7 starts full stop, but has won at this track and another good solid run here last time, where I probably just done enough throughout the race as well. And handicapper has never really altered his mark that much, so he still gets to run here off a mark of 134. But the thing, races like this, you're going to have so many horses that are lurking there under the radar. But Get My Drift in the 4:10.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. Dean Ryan, what do you like on Sunday?
I think one of the best bets of the weekend is on Sunday in that 2:25. It goes against a couple of other lads' fancies, though, and that's Birchdale. Ender Bolger got Champagne Platinum to win recently. I know it's been a long time. This horse started its career 3 from 3 and then went completely off the rails. But looked like behind Schoolboy Hours at Leopardstown the last day that the rails were firmly back on. And I think this hasn't been missing the market. It's 8-1 at the moment with FansBet. I think that 8-year-old will be winning off a low weight in this handicap, and I think it probably do it quite well. Stephen Cass mentioned a horse that I really like in the 4:10, the Fahey horse Surprise Package. It ran behind Bride's Hill, really bumped into one at Leopardstown over Christmas, and I think that one will go very well. 16-1 with FansBet for the 4:10 on Sunday. But Birchdale.
What's that I hear, Diarmuid? Is it Thunder being stolen?
Yeah, huge fan of Birchdale. I should put him up at Christmas time. I was very excited to come up to the last, and he just emptied.
Doesn't stay 3 miles.
No.
Doesn't stay 3 miles. No.
Not at all. No. And going back to, I remember Trainwreck used to always do the same thing. He'd show up well at Christmas and then nearly win this race. Was it 2 years in a row? I think. Birchdale's quite similar. Now, he's going back down a trip for every reason. Dean said, I don't need to wax lyrical on there too much. In that handicap hurdle, the Mayor's handicap hurdle at 12:45, I thought Finest Evermore 13-2 was a great bet. I thought she was ridden way out the back in that brilliant Mayor's race at Christmas. She flew through late, like really well, and those in front of her are Royal Kahala, heaven help us, and Tell Me Something Girl, who I think wins the Mayor's at Cheltenham. So Finest Evermore is not that far behind them. I know she's given weight around, but I just think she's better than everything else in it. I think she'll be able to lump that bigger weight and beat these. And then in the 4:10, Stephen Cass mentioned him, Top Bandit, I think of 135, his winning is not done, especially if you go back to that run 3 runs ago at Cheltenham. I mean, in second is Brorson, that's won a few times since, and in third is Jetoy, who I also think wins the bet for her hurdle, who was second behind Constitution Hill. And he was kicked out of the way by Constitution Hill, so it shows how good that horse is. But I think Jetoy that day was 80-1 and ran a huge race. Top Bandits rating probably hasn't gone up really accordingly, and 135 for 3 wins in a row. He can keep winning definitely, but Birchdale was definitely a case of Thunderstone.
Yeah, Diarmuid actually texted me before the show to tell me that he fancied Birchdale, so he's not copying Dean's notes. Don't worry. Just a couple from my perspective. Obviously, I'm on the Birchdale boat, so hopefully, like 129, as the lad said, I think he's well handicapped over this trip because I don't think he stays 3 miles. I like Cask Mate in the Liffey handicap hurdle. I think 139 for a horse like him, I think goes really well fresh as well. Noel Meade has won that race. The former Labrook, and it was called any amount of different names over the years, but it's now the Liffey handicap hurdle. I think that Noel Meade has laid him out for this. When he was beaten by Zana here, I think he put him away, and this is where he's shown up. He won it with Glencloud, he won it with Ice Cold Soul, and I think he's going to win it with Cask Mate. And Sit Down Lucy in the 12:45. Dean Ryan, your hand is up.
Before we get to the naps, because everyone wants to know the naps, right? And fans better throwing in, I think it's £25 per man on the panel to find a few winners for charity. So fair play to them. I must just remind you all, if you do get involved with the Bet 10 Get 30 at Fans Bet offer, which is obviously on the Bitly link and at bookmakers.co.uk, do that. They have the £10,000 to be won for the Dublin Racing Festival Predict and Win competition. There are 7 questions to answer. I had to go earlier on, so you're all trying to play catch up behind me, but you've got to come up with things like how many winners will Willie Mullins have, how many will Gordon Elliott have, who's going to win the Irish Gold Cup, and all sorts of other mad questions in there. It's plenty of fun. Do get involved.
I just realised that I asked you at the start, how did you get on? And you were like, it hasn't happened yet. I thought you actually had to answer the questions to get in with a chance. Then
like a quiz. Like a quiz, yeah. David.
So that's not wrong.
Do you know where the clue is? It's in predict and win. So something has to,
yeah. I thought you had to do something first before you got to predict, because there were 7 questions. But anyway, I got it wrong. And listen, I think what we've learned tonight from Fans Bet as well is that there's plenty of value there. There's a lot of kind of standout prices, like that 11 Tates or Gerhard. And as we went through the races, I think we were gradually cotton on that there's some decent value there with Fans Bet. So have a look at the website, have a gander and see what you like, because there is some value there with Fans Bet. And before we get to the charity bets, I know everybody's dying to know what they are. Who's going to be there, boys? Who's going to be at the Dublin Racing Festival? Diarmuid Nolan, are you going?
I most certainly am, yeah.
Both days. Are you on a jolly now? Are you drinking and punting and messing?
Not sure. Saturday I'm there with Dean, and then Sunday I'm there somewhat represented work at the Racing Post box. Actually, I'll be up in on.
Oh, how did you get an invite there?
Sure, we're a partner of them, sure, or at least we work with the old Spotlight content, Dean, isn't it?
Correct. I didn't even get. Yeah, Demo's only getting invited because I put him forward. I mean.
So, Dean, are you racing both days?
I'm only racing on one of the days. I'll be there Saturday with Demo. So if you see 2 people arguing in a corner, that will be us.
Well, you know what, boys? I'll have a pint, I'll have a pint. Stephen Cass, are you at Leopardstown either day?
And always go the Saturday, DJ, every year. But I'm going to family man now. You know, two small kids, and I'm going to Birmingham at like 3 a.m. Monday morning for a couple of days for work. So I just have to show face.
How is Cass & Co? Give us an old shameless plug there.
Yeah, Cass & Co is going great. Yeah, we're actually moving up to the town square in Dungarvan later this year into a bigger place. So yeah, we're going really well. Anyone in Dungarvan for the summer, call in. Give you a bad tip.
Fair play to sizing, John. That's how it all started. Paddy Aspell, what's the weekend plans?
Well, generally on Saturdays, I tend to jump on the back of a horse and ride it round fields for about 4 hours behind a pack of dogs.
Oh, otherwise known as hunting, I presume.
Yeah, well, it's a dodgy word to say nowadays, so I try and describe it more than say it.
Sorry about that.
But no, that's the plan on Saturday. So I'm going to have to do a bit of catching up on Saturday evening with the racing. But Sunday, there'll be no one stealing my sofa on Sunday, because if they are, they'll have to take me with them.
Well, you're light enough. It wouldn't be the hardest sofa in the world to steal. Mine would be very, very, very hard to steal, let me tell you. But, well, enjoy it anyway. Enjoy the hunting, enjoy the racing. 2 big days in stores. And David Weldon, you have a stag.
Yeah, it's stag with a
You jammy bastard.
Yeah, if they're not mad racing people, they're more into the rugby and into the football stuff. There was a couple of us down there. We'll be soaking in and out of the bookies, I'd say, to watch the racing.
What's the chances of you vomiting over the weekend? Is it like odds on or odds against?
It's 1.01, I'd say. I'm a viewer.
Had a few pints for the first time in a while last Saturday night.
Yeah.
Rough. Right. Yeah. Anyway, enough of the shy talk. It's time for the most important moment of the night. It is the charity bets. It's singles only. It's 25 quid each, courtesy of FansBet. Very, very generous indeed. And hopefully we can raise a few quid. So who wants to start? Who's eager? Come on. Whoever is most confident can start. Who wants to start? Right, Dean Ryan, kick it off.
Birchdale, 8-1, will win and get us a few quid for charity. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so that is Birchdale, who is in the 225 at Leopardstown on Sunday. Diarmuid Nolan, what's your charity bet?
Good time, Johnny, in the 245 handicap hurdle on Saturday.
Excellent. Prices, what's the prices, boys, by the way?
6-1, good time, Johnny, anyway. Dean, you're 8-1, aren't you?
Birchdale, 8-1. Perfect. David Weldon, your charity bet, please.
Battling Bessie in the Mayor's Bumper on Sunday at 16-1.
Whoa, 16-1. Battling Bessie. Don't say it myself, but more luck to you. Stephen Cass, your charity bet for the weekend.
I'll go with Sit Down Lucy at 12:45 Sunday. Don't know what price she's there at FansBet, maybe. Let's say 10-1. She's kind of that. Generally.
You know what? I'll find it for you, so I will, Stephen. While Paddy Aspell is giving you his charity bet for the weekend.
I think the Irish Arkle's an absolute cracker, David, and Blue Lord is going to take a fair bit of turning over. But I think Willie's Houghton Killor, only a 5-year-old, very, very low mileage, could be anything for me.
So it's hot on colours for Paddy Aspell in the Irish Arkle. And the price at the moment for hot on Clare is 130 hot on Clares. Do we have a price for Sit Down Lucy, Dean?
We don't. It's not priced up. It's the first race, isn't it, on the sun? So it's not priced up yet, but we'll make sure.
We'll call it 10s for charity. I'm sure they'll honour that. Across the court.
I'm certainly will.
We'll give you 10-1, Stephen. Sit Down Lucy in the opening race at 12:45 at Leopardstown on Sunday. And I'm going to go to the Liffey handicap hurdle, 4:10 on Sunday. And I'm going to go for Cask Mate, who is now 8-1, 16-1 early in the week. Don't talk. Anyway, 8-1 now, Cask Mate. I still think he's a little bit of value. I could see him going off about 92 or 5-1. That's in the 4:10 at Leopardstown on Sunday. And you know what, folks? That's it. That is it for the Race Hour podcast, Dublin Racing Festival preview. It's been an absolute pleasure, boys. We'll say our thanks to our panel, Dean Ryan, Diarmuid Nolan, Paddy Aspell, Stephen Cass, and David Weldon. It's been a cracking couple of hours. We've had a bit of a laugh. We've had a good fun poke at Silas Emery winning the Irish Gold Cup, and we're going for those points and we're going for those stakes if Silas Emery does win the Irish Gold Cup. I think I'm safe enough, David. But listen, have a great weekend. If you are having a bet this weekend, don't forget to gamble responsibly. Only bet what you can afford to lose at. This very entertaining preview has been brought to you in association with bookmakers.co.uk and FansBet. It's been an absolute pleasure to be your host for the night. Enjoy the Dublin Racing Festival. It's going to be a cracker.